Chapter 134. Qin Shujian looked at the many players and quietly activated his spiritual eye. Instantly, the players' attributes were also revealed. Name, Lu Dazhong, variant human. Title, none identity, none affiliation. Novice Village 74444 faction level, none realm. Martial arts realm level 6 different from the others. The players' attributes were specially marked with the word variant human. Apart from that, cultivation methods and martial arts could not be seen through. As for loyalty, the other party had not entered the sect yet, so there was no such thing as loyalty. Subsequently, Qin Shujian looked at a few more players, and the results were similar. The players in the field, most of them were around martial arts realm level 5 or 6. Very few of them were at martial arts realm level 7. There were also some below martial arts realm level 5, but below martial arts realm level 3. There was not a single one. Just as the players were nervous, Qin Shujian opened his mouth and said, "Today, my Yuan sect is open. Anyone with good character can enter my sect." Instantly, all the players' faces became serious as they listened to the other party's words carefully. Pay 30 taels of silver, and you can become Yuan sect's outer sect disciple and learn the corresponding cultivation method and martial arts. The players who were listening carefully, hearing this, many of them were stunned, thinking that they had misheard. 30 taels of silver. Only 30 taels of silver, and you can enter the sect. Was this real or fake? If it was so simple, why was there not a single player who could successfully enter the sect? You've triggered a strange encounter mission. Strange encounter mission. Pay 30 taels of silver and you can enter the sect. Do you accept? Strange encounter mission. Many of the players looked at each other. If the NPC's words were fake, then the system's mission notification would not lie. In other words, as long as they spent 30 taels of silver, they could really enter the sect. Instantly, almost all the players said accept in their hearts. On the other side, after speaking, Qin Shujian's face changed slightly. You've successfully issued a mission to the variant human. Contribution points activated. You can consume a certain amount of life force to create a corresponding identity token. You can issue missions to the mutants in the sect. Note, every time a mission is issued, a certain amount of life force will be consumed. Note, you can add a certain amount of rewards on top of the consumption of life force. This will arouse the Inhuman's enthusiasm, not mandatory. He had never thought about it. Recruiting players would lead to such a change. He couldn't help it. Qin Shujian silently recited the words to make an identity jade card. Immediately, the corresponding information appeared in his mind. Outer Sect Disciple Identity Token. 1 Life Source Inner Disciple Identity Token. 3 Life Force Points Elite Disciple Identity Token. 5 Life Source Direct Disciple External Deacon Identity Token. 10 points of Life Force Direct Disciple Internal Deacon Identity Token. 20 Life Source Elder Identity Token. 100 Life Source Sect Leader's Identity Token. 1000 Life Source. He suppressed the restlessness in his heart. Qin Shujian turned to Jingfang and the rest and said, "Elders, please take care of this place first. If there are any mutants who are unwilling to pay, expel them all from the Yuan sect." After that, without waiting for them to reply, he leaped and left. As soon as he left, Qin Shujian went directly to the Chengwu Hall, lit the candles in the hall, and then closed the door. Immediately after, he looked at his life source and directly chose to make an outer disciple identity token. As the thought arose, his life source decreased a little. An iron token directly appeared in his hand. In his hand, there was a cold feeling. Qin Shujian immediately looked at the attributes of the token. Name, identity token affiliation, none, outer disciple, contribution points, 0, 0, can be promoted. You have successfully created an identity token. You can set the corresponding contribution promotion system. The system prompt came again. This time, Qin Shujian only took a few glances and had an idea in his heart. He only saw his thoughts moving. The 0 in the brackets in the identity token suddenly became 200, and the original words that could be promoted also changed to not be promoted. When the contribution points reach the corresponding value, the token can be promoted, and the identity of the person with the token will also be promoted from an outer disciple to an inner disciple. In this way, there are 2 ways to promote in Yuan's sect. One is to promote with the token, and the other is to promote directly by the higher-ups. Qin Shujian was quite satisfied with this. To put it bluntly, he had the final say on how many contribution points he needed to promote. Whoever he wanted to promote could be promoted. If he didn't want to promote, even if his contribution points soared to the sky, he still wouldn't have the chance to promote. As for the function of issuing tasks, Qin Shujian also roughly studied it. After some understanding in his heart, he immediately consumed hundreds of life source and made a large number of outer disciple identity tokens. In the square, after the players accepted the task, some of them had enough silver and directly paid the money and stayed. And those who didn't have enough money left Yuan sect immediately and went to other places to raise money. For the players at this stage, 30 taels of silver was not a lot, but it was also not a little. At the beginning of the game, the price of silver was relatively high and floating. Now as the game was getting longer and longer, the price of silver slowly decreased and remained at a relatively stable level. When Qin Shujian arrived, there were about 100 players left in the square. Behind Qin Shujian, there were a few deacons who were holding a pile of identity tokens in their hands. All the players who paid the silver can come and receive the outer disciple identity token. From now on, you are the disciples of Yuan's sect. Hearing this, the players who paid the silver immediately went forward to receive the identity token. The players who received it, they also retreated to the side and checked the attributes of the identity token. As for Qin Shujian, he stood there and looked at the attributes of the players. Now that these people had joined Yuan's sect, their loyalty was no longer a hidden attribute and was all exposed in front of his eyes. Almost all the players were about the same. Loyalty levels hovered between single digits and the beginning of double digits. To this, Qin Shujian didn't say anything. The players were cold by nature, and he didn't think that they could be that loyal. As long as they didn't stab him in the back, everything would be fine. It was just that, what was a negative loyalty? Infernal affairs? Qin Shujian looked at the player named Zhang Quan and looked at his -50 loyalty. No matter how he looked at it, it was dazzling. Zhang Quan was looking at the attributes of the identity token. Suddenly, he felt that the top of his head was dark. When he looked up, he happened to meet Qin Shujian's eyes. His heart suddenly trembled. What was going on? Could it be that the other party recognized him? Zhang Quan's heart was flustered at first, but he calmed down quickly. Back then, there were so many players in the novice village 23012, and this big boss killed people without blinking. There was no reason for him to remember a small player like him. Have we met somewhere before? Hearing this, Zhang Quan's heart trembled again. He forced a smile and said, "This is the first time I've met the sect master." Qin Shujian put his hand on the other party's shoulder and had a gentle smile on his face. "Are you nervous?" "No, no." Zhang Quan's forehead was faintly sweating. Until now, how could he not notice that something was wrong? It was just that no matter how he thought, he couldn't figure out which part of the problem was. It couldn't be. The other party could really recognize him. At this time, the other players also turned their attention to this side. After all, they had to treat any action of Qin Shujian with caution. "I see that you have a rebellious bone in your brain. Could it be that you want to betray Yuan's sect?" "Wrong. You're stuttering. It seems that it's true." Qin Shujian patted the hand on the shoulder and had a gentle smile on his face. At this time, Zhang Quan's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Just as he was about to explain himself, he felt a violent surge of power on his shoulder and instantly destroyed his life force. In the eyes of others, Zhang Quan suddenly dissipated into light and only an identity token was left on the ground. What was going on? Could it be that this boss was addicted to killing and was so cruel that he even killed his own people? But all the players who saw this scene were all shocked. They thought that after joining the sect and standing together with this boss, they would be considered as one of their own. Unexpectedly, they still couldn't escape the fate of being killed. Suddenly, just as many players were hesitating whether they should take advantage of the other party to leave before he killed them, Qin Shujian kept the identity token that had fallen and looked at the rest. "This person is a spy who tried to sneak into Yuan's sect. Now that I have seen through him, as long as there is no problem, you don't have to worry." Hearing this, many players were slightly relieved. After seeing that Qin Shujian didn't make any more moves after killing that player, the rest of them were temporarily relieved. Next, the players who didn't get their identity tokens also went to get theirs one after another. Qin Shujian was still using the ability of the spiritual eye to check the attributes of each player. Of course, the focus was still on the loyalty. After the last player had received their identity tokens, Qin Shujian stopped using the ability of the spiritual eye. Except for the player who was killed, the loyalty of the other players was not negative. There is a library in the Yuan sect. With contribution points, you can exchange for the opportunity to enter the library. Someone will tell you the specific contribution point system in 2 days. Outer sect disciples are not qualified to live in the sect. Go to the foot of the mountain and build a village for yourself to rest. As Qin Shujian spoke, he directly used the function of issuing missions. The first group mission was issued to the players who had joined Yuan sect. The minimum consumption for this mission is 136 life force, which can be increased accordingly. The minimum contribution points rewarded for the mission is 1 point for each person. There is no upper limit. Looking at the system prompt, he directly chose the lowest consumption. At the same time, all the players received the system's mission prompt. Sect mission. Go to the foot of Mount Liang to build a village as soon as possible. It cannot be more than 2 miles away from Mount Liang. The mission cannot be rejected. Mission reward. A small amount of experience points. 1 contribution point. Chapter 135. At the foot of Mount Liang. A group of players were working in full swing. Although some of them couldn't understand why the first thing they did after joining a sect was not to learn techniques, but to work as a coolie. But when they thought of the 30 taels of silver they had paid, and then they thought of the time they had wasted to join Yuan sect, these people could only grit their teeth and accept it. After all, there were contribution points for this mission. Contribution points were the key to learning techniques. There was also a small amount of experience points, so it wasn't for nothing. On the other side, Qin Shujian looked down at the situation of the players and then turned to leave. He had already increased the contribution points needed to become an inner disciple to 500 points. It wasn't easy for ordinary players to become an inner disciple, but there were 2 things that Qin Shujian was concerned about. First, could the players who joined Yuan sect provide him with a source of life? Second, could other people in Yuan sect issue missions to the players, and what was the cost of issuing missions? These 2 points. He didn't know for now. It could also be that other NPCs were different from him and naturally had the ability to issue missions. About this point, Qin Shujian couldn't ask others. Once he asked, then he would be exposed. The players were working in full swing. On the other side, Qin Shujian was making the best use of the time to perfect the system. He first tried to see if anyone could see the contribution points on the identity token. Then he found out. As long as the token fell into the hands of someone, that person would be able to see how many contribution points there were. In this way, things would be easier. Qin Shujian specified some rules, such as how many contribution points could be used to enter the library once, and how many floors could one enter based on the level of the identity token. Similar to these, he made clear indicators. After doing all these, Qin Shujian suddenly realized it might be easy to set up a sect, but it wasn't easy to nurture a sect well. There isn't much source of life now. I'll make the identity tokens for the players first. As for the NPCs in Yuan sect, I'll leave them empty for now. Qin Shujian looked at the source of life that only had a little more than 1,000 points and shook his head. The promotion of NPCs didn't require contribution points. When the time came, he would just make the corresponding identity tokens. Other than that, he made hundreds of identity tokens and left them with Zheng Fong. Because according to his guess, there should be more players arriving one after another. He recruited a group of thugs. Furthermore, each of them could earn 30 taels of silver. This trade was actually not a loss at all. However, we still have to give them a taste of sweetness. Otherwise, their hearts won't be at peace. Shortly after, Qin Shujian looked at his elemental cultivation technique. Ordinary cultivation techniques definitely wouldn't tempt those players. The only thing he could take out was a low-grade true-grade origin scripture. This low-grade truth rank cultivation technique was a combination of numerous mortal rank cultivation techniques. It had already transcended to a whole new level. Originally, he still wanted to use this cultivation technique as a trump card, but now that he thought about it, as long as there was enough life source, Yuan Dian could be continuously deduced. If he wanted to obtain luck points, he wouldn't be stuck at the true rank. Luck points were hard to come by. However, Qin Shujian did not think that there was no chance. In this way, Yuan Dian's importance would not be as strong. Thinking about it, Qin Shujian immediately went to find Zheng Fong and discussed with him. In the end, they decided that all the players who joined Yuan's sect could cultivate the first 5 levels of Yuan Dian's martial arts for free. As for the inner disciples, they could cultivate the complete martial arts scripture. Shortly after, this decision was passed down. Of course, as the great elder, Zheng Fong naturally wouldn't lower himself to personally teach the outer disciples. These things, they were all handed over to the deacons. Hiss. Low-grade true rank. The cultivation techniques of the sect are indeed not comparable to the cultivation techniques on the streets. Song Qing looked at the true rank cultivation technique on his attribute panel. Even if he didn't even reach the first level, just the words true rank cultivation technique were enough to blind his eyes. The hardships of coming to Liang Mountain, the grief of being accidentally killed by an NPC, and the anger of building a village for a bit of contribution points on such a hot day had all disappeared. What did he do all this for? Wasn't it for this? Looking at the cultivation technique on his original attribute panel, the words low-grade mortal rank were a bit dazzling. Without any hesitation, he directly abolished the cultivation technique he was originally cultivating, and his realm also fell. Immediately after, then, he transferred all the experience points to Yuan Dian. Then, he saw that Yuan Dian was directly pushed to the maximum level of the 5th level. Seeing the additional characteristics and the strength that surged out from his body, Song Qing was once again shocked. 1, 2, 3. 3 additional characteristics. This is the true rank cultivation technique. In an instant, the other players also let out cries of surprise from time to time. Low-grade true rank. When one cultivated to the 5th level, they would have 3 characteristics. These differences were not something that the cultivation techniques they were originally cultivating could compare to. Lu Dazhong was so excited that his fingers were trembling. A low-grade true rank cultivation technique, the 30 silver taels that I spent, I'll be able to get it back just like that? Unfortunately, there were restrictions in the game. The cultivation techniques that players cultivated were only equivalent to a growing skill. Even if they knew the content, they couldn't spread it through writing. Otherwise, he would be able to rely on this to become rich. Not long after, on the real-world forum, some players who joined Yuan's sect directly posted the attributes of the 5th level of the martial arts manual, Yuan Dian's cultivation technique. In an instant, it caused a stir in the entire forum. Especially when someone wrote down the entry criteria of Yuan's sect, it caused even more people to go crazy. 30 silver taels. How much was that? Now that the players had increased their assets, 1 silver tael was about 300 real-world currency. After conversion, it was about 10,000 yuan. 10,000 yuan? To many people, it was not a small sum of money. But to be able to take out this amount of money, most people could do it. 10,000 yuan in exchange for the opportunity to enter a sect, no matter how one looked at it, would not be a loss. As long as they obtained the cultivation technique, their strength would increase. The money that they spent would be able to get it back sooner or later. Many smart people thought of another thing. That was how big Yuan's sect was. How many players were there in the game? Now that this news had spread, there would definitely be a large number of players entering. Sooner or later, Yuan's sect would not be able to handle it. Therefore, when it came to joining a sect, it was a matter of being the first to get it. In an instant, some people had already taken action and rushed toward the true dominion of Liang Mountain. The players who were already in the true dominion of Liang Mountain directly rushed toward Yuan's sect. Novice Village number 4356. When Zhang Quan revived, his mind was still in a daze. Who am I? Where am I? What do I have to do? After being confused for 3 times, he quickly regained his senses. He looked at the familiar surroundings. Zhang Quan had to admit one fact. He had been killed by Liang Mountain Fort's fort master and had been cheated of 30 silver taels. If Qin Shujian was here and could see Zhang Quan's loyalty, he would definitely be able to see it. Zhang Quan's loyalty was already at -100. You win. Zhang Quan gritted his teeth. His eyes were already spitting fire. When he was in Novice Village number 23012, he had already been tortured by Liang Mountain Fort. He had originally wanted to sneak into Yuan sect and learn their cultivation technique. Then, he would find an opportunity to trick Qin Shujian and vent his anger. In the end, he had failed. He had even lost 30 silver taels. Until now. Zhang Quan did not understand how the other party had found out about his evil intentions. It had to be said, the players were still very efficient. In less than 2 days, the village had already begun to take shape with the guidance of the deacon. As for the carrier trading company, their actions were also very fast. This time, besides Gu Feng, there were 2 true martial realm experts who came with the carriage. This was already the true dominion. The 10th stage of the basic martial realm was no longer the peak. In addition, the items being escorted this time were not ordinary items, but cultivation techniques and martial arts techniques. Therefore, they had to be treated with caution. When they arrived at the foot of Liang Mountain, Gu Feng sighed as he looked at the village that had already taken shape. Your sect is changing every day. In the future, you will definitely be a force to be reckoned with. Haha. Thank you for your auspicious words, Manager Gu. Su Yuaming laughed. He was also in a good mood. Subsequently, the few of them went up the mountain together. In the Bearing Martial Hall, Gu Feng cupped his hands and said, Sect Master Qin, these are the cultivation techniques you wanted. As he spoke, he opened a few boxes behind him. Qin Shujian also stepped forward and casually picked up a martial arts technique with the words, Black Rock Technique, written on it. After looking at it for a while, he did not open it. Instead, he put the cultivation technique back. Gu Feng, who was beside him, explained, for the cultivation technique category, the mortal low grade is priced at 100 taels of silver, the mortal middle grade is priced at 800 taels of silver, the mortal high grade is priced at 3,000 taels of silver, and the truth low grade is priced at 10,000 taels of silver. For the martial arts category, the mortal low grade is priced at 50 taels of silver, the mortal middle grade is priced at 500 taels of silver, the mortal high grade is priced at 1,500 taels of silver, the truth low grade is priced at 5,000 taels of silver, and the truth middle grade is priced at 20,000 taels of silver. This time, I've brought 100 mortal low-grade cultivation techniques, 30 mid-grade cultivation techniques, 10 high-grade cultivation techniques, and 3 low-grade true-grade cultivation techniques. The same goes for martial arts, but there's an extra mid-grade true-grade martial art. Sect Master Qin's reward is 45,000 taels of silver. You can choose from this range. Upon hearing this, Qin Shujian understood. After all, the cultivation technique was the foundation of one's strength. One's strength could only be improved when one's cultivation level increased. As for the martial arts, in the end, it was only an auxiliary method. Therefore, the price of cultivation techniques was generally much higher than martial arts. After thinking for a while, Qin Shujian said, I want to take a look at the truth-level cultivation techniques and martial arts. Hearing this, Gu Feng directly took out the cultivation techniques and martial arts and handed them over with both hands. Sect Master Qin, please take a look. Truth low-grade Raging Flame Technique, Truth low-grade High Na Yuan Returning Technique, Truth low-grade Blood Drinking Technique, Truth low-grade Immovable Mountain, 3 cultivation techniques and 4 martial arts. Qin Shujian only knew the general use from the name on the cover. Finally, his gaze fell on the truth-level middle-grade martial arts. Chapter 136. The middle-grade true rank Wisdom King Prism-Breaking Saber. Just by looking at the name, Qin Shujian already had an idea. I heard that Sect Master Qin's saber technique has reached perfection. Therefore, this middle-grade Truth King Prism-Breaking Saber was prepared by you. Do you like it? Gu Feng said with a faint smile. Naturally, there were no middle-grade true rank cultivation techniques in his branch. After all, the True Dominion had just been upgraded, so the scale of the branch was still based on the standards of the ordinary Dominion. This Wisdom King Prism-Breaking Saber, Gu Feng, had specially exchanged it from the other True Dominion branches. His motive was simple. He had prepared it for Qin Shujian. Brother Gu, you are too kind. In that case, I will take this Wisdom King Prism Breaking Saber, the low-grade True Rank Raging Flame technique, and the Ocean Origin Returning technique. As for the rest, I will exchange them for martial arts. Qin Shujian only thought about it for a moment before making a decision. Subsequently, he chose 2 high-grade mortal rank, 2 middle-grade mortal rank, and 10 low-grade mortal rank martial arts. 45,000 taels of silver were allocated. They were all cleared out. After completing these tasks, Gu Feng's expression turned solemn as he started to talk about serious matters. In 2 days, we will officially attack the rebel army. Sect Master Qin, you will have to send people over in time. All right. When the time comes, your sect will head directly to the Flying Leaf City. City Lord Zhang Baiqing will make the necessary arrangements. The two of them chatted for a while. Gu Feng stood up and left. Qin Shujian's lips curled into a meaningful smile as he watched the other party's departing figure. The carrier trade firm is not simple. This was not about the other party's strength. Instead, a trading firm had actually interfered with the rebel army's affairs. This did not seem like something they should do. Qin Shujian guessed. The imperial court might be behind the carrier trade firm. Otherwise, they would not have paid such a price. He hoped that Sky Origin sect could help eliminate the rebel army. As for the reason that Lin Wanyu had mentioned previously, it was just a passing remark. If anyone took it seriously, that would be too foolish. However, it did not matter to Sky Origin sect who was behind the carrier trade firm. He had no intention of rebelling anyway. As long as the other party gave him enough benefits, that would be enough. Subsequently, Qin Shujian also came to the library. Although it was still quite spacious compared to the huge library, at least it was not as lonely as it used to be. He placed all the low-grade and mid-grade mortal rank treasures on the first floor. Mortal high level was placed on the second floor. However, Qin Shujian did not immediately put the 3 true rank cultivation techniques in. In the bedroom, Qin Shujian opened the 3 books. You've learned True Tier Low-Grade Blaze Art. You've learned the low-grade True Tier High Knot Origin Technique. You've learned the mid-grade True Tier Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber. Instantly, information about the 3 cultivation methods and martial arts surged into his mind like a tide. In the meantime, the liquefied quintessential essence in his dantian also seemed to undergo some minute changes. Subsequently, Qin Shujian looked at his own attributes. Name: Qin Shujian. Title: Liangshan Region Leader. Identity: Sect Master of Yuan Sect. Affiliation: Yuan Sect. Influence Level: Level 2 Realm, Level 10 True Martial Arts, Liangshan Region, Realm +5, Yuanzhong Region, Realm +3, Cultivation Method, 13th Level of Yuan Dian, Level 11 Life Extension, Level 7 Indestructible Body, Level 6 Shattered Star Quintessential Essence, Low-Grade True Tier, First Level of Blaze Art, plus, Low-Grade True Tier, First Level of High Knot Origin Technique, plus, Low-Grade True Tier, Martial Arts, Black Tiger Saber Technique, Entering Tao, 5 Elements 8 Trigram Steps, Oneness of Heaven and Man, Low-Grade Mortal Rank, 7 Leaf Flower Piercing Palm, plus, Perfection, Low-Grade Mortal Rank, Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber, plus, Beginner, Middle Grade True Tier, Life Source, 1614 Luck Value, 0. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's expression was calm. The true rank cultivation method only had a higher upper limit and growth attribute, but to cultivate it, he had to start from the basic martial arts chapter. More than 1,000 life sources, even if he used all of them, would not increase much. So, Qin Shujian only hesitated for a moment before directly upgrading to the Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber. 1,000 life sources evaporated. The Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber immediately rose from the beginner to the advanced level. A familiar feeling emerged. It was as if he had practiced this saber technique for a long time and had already become extremely familiar with it. After feeling the Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber for a while, Qin Shujian took out a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone, and then began to bury his head in writing. A child from a poor family. That was about it. An hour later, Qin Shujian raised his head, looked at the paper that had been folded quite a bit, and laughed. I finally finished writing. This way, my Yuan sect will also have a few true rank cultivation methods as a trump card, so it won't be too embarrassing. He simply tidied up the paper and then made a binding. Immediately after, he headed straight for the book collection pavilion. Sect leader Wang Taizhu, who was in charge of the book collection pavilion, also stood up to welcome Qin Shujian when he saw him. "I'll go up myself." Qin Shujian waved his hand. Seeing this, Wang Taizhu gave up. On the third floor of the book collection pavilion, Qin Shujian directly placed the 3 true rank cultivation methods on top, then turned and left. Half a day later, in the inherited martial hall, a group of elders were already sitting on the left and right. Qin Shujian said, "This time, the imperial court wants to take action against the original Shining rebel army. My sect will send 5 elders of the true martial realm and 30 disciples of the 10th grade of the martial realm to assist. Elders, how many of you are willing to go?" "I'll go." Zheng Hong was the first to speak. Immediately after, Fu Gang and the others also spoke one after another. Looking at the number of people who had already reached the quota, the others who were about to speak also closed their mouths. This time, Elder Zheng Hong will lead the team, and the other 4 elders will assist. As for the selection of the 10th grade of the martial realm, I'll leave it to you. Yes, sect leader. As a sect, our Yuan sect should protect the peace of the people. Now that there are rebels wreaking havoc in the divine flower ordinary realm, as disciples of the Yuan sect, you should also carry out your duties. Anyone who is willing to go and kill the rebels will be given a certain reward. If you complete the mission well, you will also receive an additional reward. Qin Shujian's voice was loud and clear. In front of him was a group of disciples. Between the two of them, there were a few innocent beasts that had been dismembered, their blood flowing all over the ground. Immediately, the players received the system's mission notification. A large-scale mission. Looking at the large amount of experience and contribution points written on it, all the players' eyes turned green. What did they lack? What they lacked was experience and contribution points. After learning the first 5 grades of the Yuan canon, there wasn't a single player who didn't want to learn the later grades. However, due to the lack of contribution points, they could only dream about it. Now, a large-scale mission was in front of them. Obviously, it was the best time to hunt for contribution points. It's my honor to contribute to the sect. Rest assured, sect leader, I will definitely complete the mission. Rest assured, sect leader, I will definitely complete the mission. Immediately, all the players chose to accept the mission. Qin Shujian also had a gratified smile on his face. But in reality, however, his heart was in so much pain that it was about to bleed. More than 600 points of life, all used up in one mission. But only with effort would there be gains. With the character of the players who wouldn't act without seeing the benefits, how could he not give them some benefits? The life source given now will be doubled back in no time. Qin Shujian muttered to himself a few times to ease the pain in his heart. It wasn't him who comforted himself. Before releasing the mission, Qin Shujian specially caught a few beasts and threw them in front of the players to kill. The result was obvious. At the same time as the beasts died, his life source also jumped a bit. At this point, Qin Shujian was completely sure that after killing the players who entered the Yuan sect, he would also get the life source. It was also because of this reason. That was why he put in a lot of effort to release this mission. The next day, with Zheng Hong as the leader, the 5 elders and hundreds of people headed toward Fei City. Along the way, and no one dared to offend them, the aura of the 5 real martial arts realm was enough to deter everything. Fei City had already received the news. When Zheng Hong and the others arrived, Zhang Baiqing was the first to go out of the city to welcome them. Greetings to all the experts of the Yuan sect, Zhang Baiqing said with a smile and cupped his fists. This old man was originally a 10th stage basic martial arts realm old man, but now he had broken through and successfully entered the real martial arts realm. Zheng Hong cupped his fists and returned the greeting. I am here on the orders of the sect master to help the city lord. Haha, everyone, please follow me into the city. Please. Then, Zhang Baiqing sent people to make arrangements for the people of the Yuan sect. At the same time, the army of Fei City was also ready to go to war. With the arrival of the people of the Yuan sect, there were so many experts. This time, Zhang Baiqing was very confident. Especially this time, Not only did the Yuan sect help, but the other sects also sent experts. In order to destroy the rebel army, the imperial court and the carrier trading company had put in a lot of effort. The breeze whistled. The flag fluttered. The army of 6,000 gathered, and the killing intent was heavy. Zhang Baiqing was in charge of Fei City. This time, the commander was Hong Bin. The true dominion had just advanced. This commander was a 10th stage basic martial arts realm. Zheng Hong and the others stood at the side, looking at the killing intent of the army. Many of them were shocked. This was not something that a scattered army could compare to. As long as an army was formed, it would have military power. Under the attack of the army's aura, they could even suppress the enemy's strength. For the players, this was the first time they had seen such a scene, and they were all shocked. "Thank you for your help this time. I am very grateful," Hong Bin said politely to Zhang Hong and the others who had come by invitation. This time, other than the people of the Yuan sect, there were also some experts from the other sections. There was no exception. They were all in the real martial arts realm. Regarding this, Hong Bin had to give the other party enough face. "Commander Hong, you are too kind. Since we have come by invitation, we will do our best." As the leader of the Yuan sect, Zhang Hong spoke on behalf of the Yuan sect. The people from the other sects also replied politely. Seeing this, Hong Bin did not say anything more. He faced the army and shouted, "Let's go." Chapter 137. Lion-Tiger Plains. Ox Demon Cave. A huge green ox was sleeping soundly in the cave. During this period of time, Ox Demon Lord was at his most comfortable. There were no strange people to disturb him. There were no demon disasters to threaten him. Even the neighboring Cold Mountain stronghold had transformed into a sect, and that stronghold Master Qin had become a top-notch expert at the Domain Lord level. Before this, Ox Demon Lord was still worried that Cold Mountain stronghold would swallow Ox Demon Cave and seize the entire Lion-Tiger Plains. But now, he was not worried at all. If it was against Cold Mountain stronghold, Ox Demon Cave could still struggle. Against Yuan Zhong, Ox Demon Lord shifted his body to a more comfortable position and continued to sleep. Why was he thinking about this? Now that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was abundant, he could increase his strength by sleeping. At this moment, the Ox Demon Commander abruptly woke up from his deep slumber, his bell-sized eyes showing a look of panic. What a powerful aura! A true martial realm expert. At this moment, in his perception, he could sense that there was an aura on the Lion-Tiger Plain that made people tremble from afar. Suddenly, the Ox Demon Commander seemed to have sensed some familiarity from this powerful aura. Instantly, her bell-like eyes were filled with shock, but there was also a hint of doubt. Soon, he did not know what Ox Demon Lord was thinking about. His huge body trembled and transformed into a tall and sturdy person. Then, he walked out of Ox Demon Cave. According to the source of the aura, Ox Demon Lord immediately rushed in a certain direction. He had no choice. He was really worried that some ignorant beast would provoke the other party. If a true martial realm expert was angered, his little Ox Demon Cave would not be able to handle it. On the other side, Qin Shujian walked on the Lion-Tiger Plains. The aura of a true martial realm expert spread out, causing all the beasts who sensed this aura to flee with their tails between their legs. He walked neither slowly nor quickly, as if he was taking a normal stroll. From the moment he entered the Lion-Tiger Plains, Qin Shujian already knew that Ox Demon Lord would definitely sense his arrival. According to his estimation, it was almost time for the other party to arrive. As expected, in less than a few minutes, a powerful aura rose from afar. Then, he saw a tall and sturdy man with 2 horns on his head dashing over. Qin Shujian stopped in his tracks, and a light flashed in his eyes. Name: no Dali title, none identity. Ox Demon Lord affiliation. Ox Demon Cave faction level. Level 1 realm. 10th stage of the basic realm, within the range of the Demon Ox Cave. Realm +1. No Dali? Qin Shujian's mouth twitched. He had never expected this. Ox Demon Lord's real name was actually so straightforward. At this moment, no Dali? No, it should be Ox Demon Lord, had already arrived in front of Qin Shujian. A fawning smile appeared on his face as he said, "Sovereign Qin, what brings you here to my lion-tiger plains? If you had told me in advance, I would have sent someone to welcome you." "It's not too late now. Isn't it too late? Does Sovereign Qin not want to come with me to the Ox Demon Cave for a visit?" Ox Demon Lord probed. Qin Shujian shook his head and said, "No, I'm here for only one thing. Sovereign Qin, please speak clearly. This mere ordinary realm has already been upgraded to the true dominion, and the 10th stage of the basic realm is no longer the peak. The Lion-Tiger Plains is vast and bountiful, and will definitely attract covetous eyes. What does the Overlord think? Aren't you the one who covets the Lion-Tiger Plains?" The Ox Demon Commander secretly ridiculed. However, these words, he didn't dare to say it directly. Otherwise, he was afraid that he would be slapped to death. Therefore, Ox Demon Lord nodded his head in agreement and said, "Sovereign Qin is right. I have been troubled by this matter all this while, but I couldn't think of a solution. This is..." The moment Sect Master Qin came, Old Bull suddenly thought of a way to satisfy both sides. Let's hear it. Everyone in the Liang Mountain True Dominion knows of the Origin Sect and Sovereign Qin's reputation. If the Ox Demon Cave is protected by your sect, naturally, no one will dare to disturb it. As a reward, I am willing to offer 3,000 taels of silver worth of spirit herbs to your sect every year." At this point, the Ox Demon Commander rubbed his hands, looking somewhat nervous. "What do you think, Sovereign Qin?" Upon hearing that, Qin Shujian didn't reply immediately. Instead, he looked at Ox Demon Lord quietly. The atmosphere was silent. This made the Ox Demon Commander's forehead drip with sweat. A moment later, Qin Shujian shifted his gaze and smiled. "The Ox Demon Cave is also a part of the Liang Mountain True Dominion. I don't want to see any outsiders encroaching on the Lion-Tiger Plains in the future. Since the Overlord has already thought it through, let's do as you say." Phew. The Ox Demon Horde Lord let out a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "This old ox must thank Sect Head Qin. You don't have to thank me. When are you going to give me this year's tribute?" Don't worry, Sovereign Qin. I will send it to the Origin Sect tomorrow." "All right, I'll take my leave first." Qin Shujian nodded slightly. He didn't say anything more to Ox Demon Lord and turned to leave. This time, he came to the Lion-Tiger Plains. If Ox Demon Lord didn't know what was good for him, he would destroy the Ox Demon Cave and take it into the Origin Sect. However, since Ox Demon Lord knew what was good for him, he didn't have to do anything. The Lion-Tiger Plains was much bigger than the Liang Mountain True Dominion. However, there were many ferocious and mutated beasts there. No one would build a village there and settle down. After all, wild beasts surrounded it, and it was too dangerous. Therefore, if he took over the Lion-Tiger Plains, the Origin Sect would just have an additional piece of plains. They didn't raise cows or horses. Even though there were some spirit herbs, they would need to spend time to find them. Therefore, it was useless to take them over. On the contrary, the Ox Demon Cave's annual tribute of 3,000 taels was more practical. If one wasn't in charge, they wouldn't know the cost of daily necessities. Qin Shujian was under a lot of pressure now. Although there were thousands of people in the Origin Sect, they weren't involved in production. They were all waiting for food to eat. If he didn't think of a way to get more income, it wouldn't be long before such a huge sect would fall apart because of the food crisis. It might even fall to the point of robbing people. Now, Qin Shujian had successfully washed his name. He wasn't too interested in robbing people anymore. Now that he came to the Lion-Tiger Plains and gave the Origin Sect a long-term stable income, Qin Shujian felt pretty good. On the other side, Ox Demon Lord waited until Qin Shujian left before realizing that his body was drenched in sweat. A warrior of the true martial realm, and a domain lord. Standing in front of such a person, the pressure was too great. If one wasn't good, Martial Realm Stage 10 was just a matter of a slap. Now that he had used 3,000 taels of silver to exchange for safety, Ox Demon Lord calmed down instead. Actually, what the other party had said made sense. In the True Dominion, Martial Realm 10 Stage 10 was considered average but definitely not an expert. The Lion-Tiger Plains was vast. There were spirit treasures and spirit herbs there. It was possible that a true martial realm expert would take a fancy to it. How could he, a lord at the martial realm 10 stage 10, and a bunch of weaker beast clans contend with those experts, rather than having someone come knocking on their door? It was better to take the opportunity to lean towards the origin sect. At least they had cooperated before. As long as he showed his sincerity, the other party wouldn't turn hostile. After standing on the spot for a while, Ox Demon Lord returned to the Ox Demon Cave. He had to prepare the tribute and send it to the origin sect immediately. After leaving the Lion-Tiger Plains, Qin Shujian didn't return to the origin sect. Instead, he headed to other territories. There were a few territories in the Liang Mountain True Dominion now. The Liang Mountain and the Messy Stone Forest were already under the origin sect's control. The Lion-Tiger Plains of the Ox Demon Cave had also submitted. As for the Shining Plains where the Shining Rebel Army was, no power had entered yet. The Undying Plains were already a dangerous place. The demon beasts in the Endless Mountain Range were incomparable to those in the Lion-Tiger Plains. He couldn't attack there for the time being. As for Fei City, the imperial court building a city, there represented the will of the great Zhao nation. Unless the origin sect wanted to rebel, or else Fei City definitely couldn't be touched. After thinking about it, only the Shining Plains have a chance to enter the origin sect's sphere of influence. Qin Shujian thought about this and immediately headed towards the Shining Plains. The rebel army had been wreaking havoc there for a long time. He wasn't sure how the Shining Plains was like now. He stepped into the Shining Plains. There was no power overseeing this area. Naturally, there was no warning. Not long after he stepped in, Qin Shujian met players. A few players were fighting with a pack of over 10 wolves. The players were quite strong. They were around the 6th or 7th stage of the martial realm. On the other hand, although the wolves looked big, they were at most at the 3rd stage of the martial realm. Even though they had the advantage in numbers, they were still no match for the players. Qin Shujian noticed the players. The players also noticed him. When the players saw the other party's appearance clearly, they were all shocked. Then, without thinking, they quickly retreated. Liangshan's stronghold head. Compared to the origin sect head, the players were more used to calling Qin Shujian the Liangshan stronghold head. There was no other meaning. This name was too loud and too deep in people's hearts. While running, the players couldn't help but have all kinds of guesses. Why did this big shot come over? Could it be that after the origin sect was created, he still didn't wash his hands of the gold basin and planned to kill the players in the Shining Plains? When they thought about this possibility, all of them were shocked to the core. The Liangshan stronghold head, who was only at the basic realm, could already wipe out a village. No players could go against him. Now, he had become a true martial realm boss. With the strength of the novice village, even if all the players gathered together, they wouldn't be a match for him. Looking at the players who were running away quickly, Qin Shujian was speechless. In the end, he shook his head and didn't chase after them. Even if he killed these players, they wouldn't be able to provide him with a source of life. Moreover, he had just discovered a new way to harvest players. These players in the Shining Plains were very likely to be the next targets for the origin sect. Therefore, he would just leave them be for now. Qin Shujian moved his feet. He didn't change his direction and continued walking in the Shining Plains. On the other side, the news of the Liangshan stronghold head's appearance had already caused an uproar in the novice village. Many players were guessing whether or not the origin sect head was going to attack the novice village. There were even some players. They were already thinking of a way out for themselves. Chapter 138. In the Divine Flower Ordinary Realm. Big Brother, the great Zhao nation has already sent people to encircle us. Should we retreat? Escape? Lin Shixiang, who was wearing armor and still had the aura of a general, shook his head and laughed. He said self-mockingly, "The great Zhao nation has billions of territories. Where can we escape to?" Now, they were labeled as rebels. They were being chased around by the great Zhao nation. They had already temporarily established a foundation in the Star Brilliance Ordinary Realm. However, Lin Shixiang had not expected that. Suddenly, someone had broken the shackles of the Ordinary Realm and turned it into a true dominion. The true dominion. This meant that the 10th level of the true martial realm was the peak. Given their current strength, they would definitely die if they faced a large number of true martial realm enemies. Therefore, Lin Shixiang had no choice but to lead his men out of the Liang Mountain True Dominion and enter the Divine Flower Ordinary Realm. We are only a small problem in the eyes of the great Zhao nation. If they are determined to take action, how do you think we should escape? As soon as he finished speaking, the few people in the military tent fell silent. Although they had a lot of momentum now, compared to the power of the great Zhao nation, it was like heaven and earth. The other party only needed to move a finger. They could easily crush them into smithereens. Lin Shixiang tilted his head and looked at the main seat. There was a child who was already sleeping soundly. He sighed and said, "It doesn't matter if we die, but the king's heirs cannot be severed." At this point, he shifted his gaze and looked at one of the generals. "Chengzhong, take the crown prince and leave first. In the future, conceal your identity and secretly accumulate strength to wait for an opportunity." "Big brother." Chengzhong looked anxious. Lin Shixiang waved his hand to stop him and said in a low voice, "That person doesn't have much time left. The great Zhao nation will definitely be in chaos in less than 30 years. Then, we will have a chance to rise again. Now that we are too big of a target, they will not stop until they exterminate us. The most important thing now is to preserve the king's bloodline. As long as the bloodline is not severed, the sacrifices of our brothers will not be in vain. Why don't we let someone else do this? I will stay." "Shut up." Lin Shixiang was furious as he shouted sternly, "The crown prince cannot be lost. You are the most suitable. This is a military order. Do you want to go against it? Your humble servant obeys." Chengzhong's face contorted with internal struggle. Finally, he took a deep breath and bowed. Seeing this, only then did Lin Shixiang's expression soften. He continued, "The crown prince's matter is of great importance. Other than us, don't let anyone else know." "We understand. Where is the great Zhao army now?" "According to the spies, they have already entered the Divine Flower Ordinary Realm. They will reach the city in at most one day." One day, Lin Shixiang also took a deep breath. There wasn't much fear on his face as he calmly asked, "Who are the leaders?" "Hong Bin from Fei City and Chao Ku from Bingjiang City." "Only these two?" Lin Shixiang was slightly stunned. He had interacted with Fei City before. Back in the Xining Plains, Zhang Baiqing had attempted to exterminate them in order to make a contribution. The result was needless to say. Ever since then, Fei City feared them like snakes and scorpions. As for Bingjiang City, it was located in the Shenhua Ordinary Realm and was one of the 3,600 cities in the Baiyun Prefecture of the Great Zhao Nation. When they entered the Divine Flower Ordinary Realm, the Bingjiang City Lord didn't even dare to open the city gates and let them pass. Now, the other party had the guts to send out troops. On the other side, the two armies had already converged. Fei City led by Hong Bin and Bingjiang City led by Chao Ku. After the two armies converged, there were more than 20,000 of them. Fei City had 6,000 of them. As for Bingjiang City, they had a total of 14,000 of them. It could be said that they had already used up all of their military strength. Chao Ku looked at the army behind her, as well as the experts of the various sects following her. She was very confident. This time, we will definitely exterminate all of those rebels and return peace to the people. They can't escape. Hong Bin was also calm and composed. The more people there were, the more confidence there was. This was the current situation. However, the 20,000 army didn't include the experts of the various sects in the player camp. This time, Fei City had also recruited players. So did Bingjiang City. In addition to Yuan sect's player group, the three sides added up to thousands of people. The three player camps, all of them separated. After all, for this kind of mission, one more player meant one more competitor. Should we first think of a way to exclude the other players? Otherwise, if they secretly hinder us and steal our kills, it will be quite troublesome. In Yuan sect's camp, a player whispered. Hearing this, the rest of the people at the side also looked at the other two camps from time to time. Coincidentally, the other side did the same. Miao Yuqing frowned and felt some pressure in her heart. Although they didn't know how many rebels there were this time, it was inevitable that many players would steal their kills. One rebel is worth at least one contribution point. Until now, we haven't had the chance to enter the library. This is a rare opportunity. That's right. Only by becoming an inner sect disciple can we learn the complete Yuan Codex's martial arts chapter. If we were to obediently do those miscellaneous sect missions, it would be impossible. To become an inner sect disciple from an outer sect disciple, 500 contribution points was simply despairing. Building a village was tiring, but it only gave him a few contribution points. Now that there was finally a large-scale mission, killing a rebel would give them one contribution point. In comparison, it was needless to say which one was more worth it. Are there any brothers who have fought with the Shining rebels, or players who were originally in the Shining Plains? Tell us about the strength of the rebels. A player asked. In Yuan sect, there were all sorts of players. But without a doubt, as a novice village in the Shining Plains that was close to Liang Mountain, there would definitely be players who joined Yuan sect. As expected, the moment he said that, there were players who responded. I know. Soon after, in Yuan sect's camp, there was another round of discussion. Elder, can we move freely? Suddenly, a few players came up and asked. Fu Gang frowned, but soon relaxed and said, moving freely is not a problem, but don't mess up the important matters. Otherwise, you know the consequences. We understand. The few players replied respectfully. Soon after, there were players who quietly left the camp. On the other side, in the other two camps, there were also some players who left the camp on their own accord, no longer following the main group. Stop! In a long and narrow valley, Hong Bin suddenly shouted. Not long after, the army stopped. Chowka said in a deep voice, this place is surrounded by mountains. Only the valley in front of us can allow the army to pass through. According to accurate information, the rebels are entrenched there. Hong Bin nodded, then turned his head and said, take some people up there and check if there are any ambushes. Yes, sir. That person immediately called out and took dozens of people to climb up from the left and right sides to check the situation. Hong Bin and the others stood where they were without moving. The valley in front of them was long and narrow, and there were mountains and forests on both sides. If the rebels were lying in ambush on both sides and waited for the army to enter the valley before attacking, then they would definitely suffer heavy losses. Hong Bin understood this. Chao Kun naturally understood as well. So when the other side sent people up to check, he did not stop them. About half an hour later, on both sides of the valley, there were flags waving. With the eyesight of martial arts stage 10, he could naturally see that the flags were not his own people. Let's go. Hong Bin waved his hand and said. Soon after, the army, one in front and one behind, passed through the valley like a long snake. When they entered the valley, the experts from all sides were constantly paying attention to the changes in their surroundings, in case there was any unpredictable danger. Hong Bin and Chao Ku had grave expressions on their faces, even if there were people up there checking. But the steep cliffs on both sides still gave them a lot of pressure. Clang, clang. Occasionally, small stones would fall down, which was especially ear-piercing in the valley. As time went by, more than half of the army had entered the valley. Hong Bin looked at the gradually widening field of vision in front of him, and the pressure in his heart dissipated. However, boom, boom, a huge sound came from both sides of the cliffs, and then they saw flames soaring into the sky. Countless stones exploded and fell down the valley like dense raindrops. At this moment, the entire valley seemed to be trembling. The people who were originally checking on the cliffs could not stand still and directly fell from above. Explosives! Hong Bin roared in anger. Looking at the falling stones, he directly jumped up from his horse. His long spear carried a fierce wind and directly exploded the stones in the air. Explosives! At this moment, Hong Bin was both shocked and angry. He had never expected the rebels would bury explosives in the middle of the cliffs. When they entered the valley, they detonated the explosives, trying to bury all 20,000 of his army here. Hong Bin did not need to say more. The experts of the various sects were also shocked and angry. Looking at the falling stones, they all attacked at the same time. They jumped up in the air and exploded the stones falling from above. Experts of the real martial realm, Even if they were suppressed to the 10th level of the basic martial realm, they could not be compared to ordinary 10th level of the basic martial realm. The strength of the body's chi and blood. Even if they were suppressed, they had reached the boundary of the transcendent realm. Not to mention, after their true essence was shackled, they could still turn it into true chi to attack. With the combination of the two, exploding the stones was not a troublesome thing. However, the valley was really too long. Although there were many experts of the various sects, they still could not cover everything. At this moment, the stones rolled down, smashing the large army into a mess, and many people were directly smashed into meat paste. At this moment for the players, this was a completely unexpected change. There was no distinction between friend and foe in the stones, only the strong and the weak. Now most of the players were above the 5th level of the basic martial realm, and a few had even reached the 7th or 8th level of the basic martial realm. Facing this sudden change, it was not that there was no way at all, but not everyone could escape unscathed. In an instant, some unlucky players were directly smashed until they vomited blood and turned into white light to revive. Chapter 139. At the entrance of the valley, some of the soldiers who were about to enter were at a loss when they saw the sudden change. No one had expected that something like this would happen. At this moment, swoosh, swoosh, a dense rain of arrows shot from the surrounding forest. Many soldiers who were not in range were attacked by the arrows and screamed in pain. There's a sneak attack. Find cover. Archers, counterattack. A general panicked and immediately gave the order. Suddenly, the soldiers who reacted looked for cover or raised their shields to block the arrows. As for the archers, they drew their bows and shot toward the dense forest in all directions. Even if they did not see the enemy, they did not need to look for the enemy. As long as the arrows came from any direction, they would shoot back. The arrows entered the forest. Screams were heard. The rain of arrows in the dense forest seemed to have weakened a lot. At this moment, shouts of killing were heard from all directions. A large number of rebel soldiers came out of the forest. Gather the troops and fight. At this moment, the army was much calmer. Looking at the rebel soldiers who were rushing toward them from all directions, the remaining soldiers gathered the scattered formation under the command of the general and rushed toward the rebel soldiers. Boom! An expert from a sect directly came out of the crowd and slapped the air. The illusory palm print exploded with terrifying power. At the same time, there were also experts among the rebel soldiers. The long saber was fierce and directly scattered the palm print. In the blink of an eye, the two sides fought together. The movement at the entrance of the valley naturally could not be hidden from Hong Bin and the others. However, the falling stones had divided the valley into two. It wouldn't be easy for them to turn back and provide support before clearing the rubble. Therefore, when Chowka's face was pale, Hong Bin made a decision and said fiercely, "Everyone, follow me and rush out." Since there was no turning back, then there was no turning back. In an instant, everyone rushed toward the exit of the valley under Hong Bin's command. However, when they were about to come out of the valley, sharp arrows were shot like dense raindrops. When they rushed out first, within a breath's time, he had become a hedgehog. Seeing this, Hong Bin was much calmer this time. There were ambushes in the middle of the valley and at the entrance, so it was natural that there would be an ambush at the exit as well. Shield bearers, open up a path. He immediately gave the order. Then, he turned to Fu Gang and the others and said, "Everyone, please lend us a hand." Of course. Fu Gang nodded with a solemn expression. It was also at this moment. The shield bearers walked step by step towards the exit. Although the arrows were fierce, most of them were blocked by the shields. Only a few arrows that passed through the gaps could cause damage. Look at this. Fu Gang and the others exchanged glances before following the shield bearers out of the canyon. When their field of vision widened, they saw a large number of rebel archers forming into a formation. Immediately, everyone unleashed their strongest strength, withstanding the oncoming rain of arrows, and charged forward. Although the arrows were powerful, unless the arrow was made of fine iron or the archer was an expert who could break through the defense of copper skin and iron bones, The rest of the arrows would not pose any threat to an expert of the 10th stage of the basic realm. It only took a few seconds. Fu Gang and the others had already charged through the rain of arrows. It was as if they felt threatened. The rain of arrows from the rebel camp suddenly weakened a lot. However, there were experts on the Imperial Court side, but there were also experts on the rebel camp side. When Fu Gang and the others charged in, immediately, the rebel army's experts appeared and intercepted them. At this moment, while the arrows were slowing down, the army also charged out of the valley. Hong Bin took the lead and directly knocked away the oncoming arrows. His accumulated anger finally erupted as he charged towards the rebel camp. At the same time, a burly figure rushed out from the rebel camp, and a fierce cold light burst out in an instant. In the blink of an eye, spear light flashed and the cold light was embellished. In less than 2 breaths of time, Hong Bin's warhorse's knees suddenly went soft. He immediately became alert and got off the horse's back. He floated back more than 10 feet and stood firmly on the ground. Behind him, there were less than 8,000 remnants of the army. Lin Shixiang, Hong Bin, long time no see. Lin Shixiang waved his spear, a carefree smile on his face. He said in a heroic voice, "But seeing you today, you are still in such a sorry state. There are no capable people in the great Zhao Empire. Impudent, you, a rebel general, have the right to talk nonsense about the Imperial Court." Hong Bin was furious, but he did not immediately attack. In the exchange just now, in fact, he had already been defeated. If he had not retreated quickly enough, he would have been injured. However, there was a large army behind him and experts from various sects helping him. Hong Bin was not afraid of the other side. How many people could the rebel army have? At most 5,000, and they had split off a portion to deal with the army that had not entered the valley. This way, to be able to stand here, according to Hong Bin's estimates, there would not be more than 3,000. Lin Shixiang was not angry. He said, "You didn't even see my face and already lost thousands of soldiers. If the great Zhao Empire is filled with people like you, it is no wonder it has reached its current state." Lin Shixiang, that rebel Marquis Feng is already dead. You still dare to be so rampant. This day next year will be the day you die. Is trash like you worthy of being called a king? What kind of king is Marquis Feng? He is just a traitor who betrayed the great Zhao Empire. Now, his entire family has been destroyed. If you are smart and hand over the bastard child of Marquis Feng, I can still leave your corpse intact. I want to see who will live and who will die today." Lin Shixiang laughed in anger. He pointed with his spear and shouted, "I am the general of Great Feng, Lin Shixiang. Who dares to come forward and fight? Who dares to fight? Who dares to fight?" Behind him, the rebel army camp let out a strong voice. Fu Gang and the others who had been fighting with the experts of the rebel army temporarily split up and returned to their own camps. Chao Ke laughed coldly, "Why would I not dare?" But just as he finished speaking, he saw Hong Bin wave his hand to stop him. The other looked at the imposing Lin Shixiang and sneered, "Right now, I am stronger than you in both numbers and experts. What do you think I have to fight you alone?" Immediately after, his expression turned solemn. "Everyone, listen to my orders. Kill all the rebels. After this, I will naturally reward everyone. The chance to be promoted and become rich is right in front of you. Kill, kill, kill." The army immediately rushed forward like thunder. A trace of regret flashed across Lin Shixiang's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. He also commanded his men to kill. Subsequently, he suddenly burst out from his original position. His spear pierced through the air and was already charging toward Hong Bin. This spear, the murderous aura, was intimidating. Hong Bin's expression changed, but he did not retreat. He immediately raised his spear to meet the attack. Bang! The two spears collided. Hong Bin was shaken and retreated. Lin Shixiang's spear danced. In an instant, 18 spear flowers bloomed. His killing intent had already emerged. "Commander Hong, let me help you." Chao Ku immediately stepped forward. The long saber at his waist was unsheathed and slashed out with a fierce wind. The moment the long saber slashed, a spear accurately pierced the blade. The violent wind spread and Chao Ku's hand, which was holding the saber, was suddenly shattered. On the other side, Hong Bin had already charged over. Lin Shixiang, with a spear in his hand, was like the reincarnation of the god of war. In less than 10 moves, he forced the two of them to retreat again and again. They only had the ability to parry. "I'll help you." The sharp saber light slashed out. Song Hong directly charged into the battle circle. He was at LV1 of the genuine martial realm, but now he could only exert the power of LV10 of the martial realm. "You're overestimating yourself." Lin Shixiang was not afraid. The spear in his hand was superb. Every move was a killing means. Even if he was fighting against 3 people, he still had the upper hand. In this regard, Hong Bin's face was also very ugly. He knew that Lin Shixiang, as the general of Marquis Feng, was an expert above LV7 of the genuine martial realm. If it was outside the ordinary realm, he would definitely run as far as he could when he saw him. But this was the ordinary realm. Experts above LV7 of the genuine martial realm were only at LV10 of the basic martial realm. But even so, Lin Shixiang's strength was still shocking. Not only Hong Bin, even Song Hong was quite shocked in his heart. Since he broke through to the genuine martial realm, this was the first time he fought with someone in the ordinary realm. He thought that there were not many people who could be his opponent. But in the first encounter, he encountered such a strong enemy. On the battlefield, all sides were fighting non-stop. The players in the 3 camps were also trying their best to kill the enemy. At this time, the players of Yuan's sect had already tangled with a centurion of the rebel army. LV10 of the basic martial realm. It was equivalent to a boss at this stage. A boss of LV10 of the basic martial realm. According to the mission, killing it will definitely give us a lot of contribution points. Lu Dazhong's face was full of excitement as he kept attacking the centurion. At the same time, there were still more than 10 players who were launching fierce attacks. Although at this stage the players who had changed their cultivation method stopped at LV5 of the basic martial realm, the 3 additional characteristics of Yuan Dian made their strength surge. Although they were only at LV5 of the basic martial realm, but if they really counted, their combined strength was definitely at LV6 of the basic martial realm. Even compared to LV7, there was not much difference. This kind of strength, breaking the defense was no longer a problem. For the players, as long as they could break the defense, there was no boss that they could not defeat. Of course, not all players aimed at such a boss to attack. There were other players who chose to attack those small soldiers. The 2-foot-long short sword stabbed out. A rebel soldier was caught off guard and his throat was directly pierced. He fell to the ground powerlessly. 2. Lu Bai silently counted a number in his heart and then continued to move towards the next target. He was lucky enough to obtain a high-grade footwork technique and even raised it to a relatively high level. This allowed him to have a speed that far exceeded those of the same level. In addition, he only attacked the rebel soldiers who were fighting with the large army of the imperial court and exposed the openings behind them. Naturally, he was able to find them accurately. Chapter 140. One person's head. It was worth at least 1 contribution point. Not to mention, it also gave a good amount of experience. As for those who had their heads stolen, they didn't mind at all. After all, there was no benefit for NPCs to kill other NPCs. Instead of fighting bitterly, it was better to have someone to help. Lu Bai was still wandering around the battlefield. Every time he used his short sword, he would gain 1 contribution point. He knew very well, if he went to assassinate a decanter or centurion, he would most likely lose his life. With his current 5th tier of the basic martial realm, it would only take him 1 or 2 days to die and come back. However, it would be a great loss if he couldn't participate in the mission at hand because of this. When the 11th rebel was harvested, Yazichen's eyes lit up. The strong fighters in the rebel camp finally noticed the person who had done all this behind the scenes. Immediately, an expert of the 10th tier of the basic martial realm attacked. Feeling the fierce wind, Lu Bai's expression changed greatly. Without thinking, he used his life-saving footwork and slipped away like a loach. The source of life has increased a lot. In the true domain of Mount Liang, Qin Shujian looked at the pulsing source of life and raised his eyebrows. From half a day ago until now, His source of life had increased to more than 10,000. This meant that the battle to eliminate the rebel army was more intense than he had imagined. With a thought, 8,000 sources of life were consumed. Yuan Dian was deduced from the 13th tier to the 14th tier. 14th tier of Yuan Dian, middle grade true rank, 13th tier of life extension, 9th tier of indestructible body, 8th tier of star-shattering vital essence, 1st tier of internal energy. At the same time, Qin Shujian found that the vital essence in his Dantian had increased again. Then, a wonderful change occurred. A layer of invisible Gang Qi covered his entire body and protected him. A sense of enlightenment welled up in his heart. 4th tier of the true martial realm, internal energy. If the first 3 tiers were purely about cultivating the total amount of vital essence, then from the 4th tier onward, it would be vital essence transforming into Gang Qi. His Gang Qi protected his body like a layer of unbreakable, unparalleled armor. The 4th tier of the true martial realm is the same as the 7th tier of the basic martial realm. However, the difference is that the basic martial realm starts to have strong defense from the 7th tier onward. The true martial realm starts at the 4th tier. Qin Shujian felt the changes in his Gang Qi and had a deeper understanding of the 4th tier of the martial realm. Subsequently, he looked at his surroundings. This was the Xining Plains. It was different from what he had expected, a place that had been ravaged by the rebel army. This place was almost the same as the other places, and there was no sign of the rebel army's rampage. Xining rebels. Qin Shujian muttered the name. Subsequently, he discarded the thought in his mind. The origin of the Xining rebel army was not important to him or origin ancestor. Right now, Great Zhao was the orthodox one. If the origin sect wanted to develop steadily in the Liang Mountain True Dominion, it would be sufficient if they had a good relationship with the Great Zhao. However, it was the same for the Cheng Yuan Trading Company. Now, Qin Shujian was even more certain that the Great Zhao faction was behind the Cheng Yuan Trading Company. Boom! A terrifying power erupted. A sect cultivator was sent flying. Immediately after, a long rainbow pierced through the sky, causing blood to splatter all over the ground. Immediately after, the saber light trembled, and the spear power was astonishingly swift. All the attacks were unleashed at this moment. Humph! Lin Shixiang groaned and retreated a few steps. Many wounds had appeared on his body, and blood had dyed half of his clothes red. Even so, he did not show any signs of retreating, and his attacks were still swift and fierce. On the other side, Hongbin and the others were not having a good time either. 7 people had surrounded Lin Shixiang, but 2 of them had died, and the remaining 5 were all injured. The strength of this rebel army general was enough to shock everyone. However, the situation of the rebel army was not optimistic. Lin Shixiang was the only strong one. However, the strength of the other rebel army was not as strong as the imperial army. Since the start of the battle, both sides had suffered heavy losses. However, if one were to seriously calculate, the rebel army still suffered more losses. Big brother, I'll take my leave first. A tragic roar could be heard. A rebel army general dragged his heavily injured body, and even though a long saber had pierced his body, he did not dodge or evade. Instead, he launched a fatal attack toward another person. That person's face was full of shock. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. In an instant, dark red flowers bloomed. Both of them fell to the ground, dead. 5th brother. Lin Shixiang roared, his voice filled with grief. Even though he had expected such an outcome, but when a brother really died in front of him, he still felt heartache. The Great Zhao is muddle-headed and tyrannical. Today, you can kill me, Lin Shixiang. In the future, there will definitely be people who will rise up and overthrow it. Lin Shixiang turned his grief into anger, and his attacks became fiercer than before. Hongbin also said angrily, "You're about to die, and you still dare to spread lies. Ha ha ha, even if I die today, I won't let you have an easy time." Lin Shixiang seemed to have broken through some kind of restriction. His aura suddenly soared, directly touching the critical point of the ordinary realm. Thunder rumbled in the sky. Not good. He's going to go all out. Hongbin's expression changed when he saw the change in front of him. Although the ordinary realm shackles suppressed a person's realm to the 10th stage of the basic realm, it did not mean that they could not go beyond it. This was because, once this limit was exceeded, it would attract the wrath of the heavens. The thunder in the sky now foretold such a thing. Boom! A spear swept out with the power of death. Chowka's soul almost left his body. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. He was blown apart by the violent power. Then, the power of the attack did not stop and enveloped several people. Whether it was Hong Bin, Fu Gang, or the others, before the spear completely reached them, they had already coughed up blood and retreated. They looked at the terrifying spear as if they were looking at the grim reaper. Kacha, the thunder in the sky, suddenly struck down. Just as the astral spear was about to kill everyone, it was suddenly destroyed by the lightning. Then, another bolt of lightning fell from the sky, enveloping Lin Shixiang within. Looking at the thunder in the sky, the thick sense of death had completely enveloped his mind. I'm not willing. He was so close to killing Hong Bin and the others, but the wrath of the heavens came so quickly that Lin Shixiang's plan fell through. The wrath of the heavens was not something that could be compared to breaking through the ordinary realm shackles. This was the condemnation of the heavens. It was a disaster. Even if it was an expert at the peak of the genuine martial realm, facing the wrath of the heavens, there was only death. It only took a moment. The thunder disappeared. There was only a deep hole left in the ground, and there were still thunderbolts lingering on it that had not dissipated. As for Lin Shixiang's figure, it was completely gone. He was reduced to ashes. Under the wrath of the heavens, the genuine martial realm could only be reduced to ashes. Fu Gang's hand holding the saber trembled a little. Looking at the deep hole caused by the thunder, even he felt the threat of death at that moment. Gulp. Many people on the battlefield were shocked by this sudden scene. They swallowed their saliva with difficulty. Hong Bin's mind was still trembling, but he forced himself to calm down and shouted, Lin Shixiang is dead. You are not the main culprits of the rebellion. If you surrender with your weapons, you will be dealt with lightly. Otherwise, there's only death waiting for you. His voice covered the entire battlefield. After a moment of silence, the rebels threw down their weapons one after another. If Lin Shixiang was still here, they might have followed the rebels and fought to the death. But Lin Shixiang had died from the wrath of the heavens. The qi that had been supporting them had dissipated. If they continued to fight, they would only die. After the qi in their hearts dissipated, they finally came to their senses. They did not want to die. But a rebel who had just thrown down his weapon was killed by a saber before he could react. Wu Qing was covered in blood. He looked at the other rebels and shouted angrily, Stop looking. You are soldiers of the Great Feng Kingdom. The people of the Great Feng Kingdom have never surrendered. Do you think you are worthy of the king and the general by doing this? His words. Immediately, some of the rebels hesitated. But before Wu Qing could say too much, the experts of the Great Zhao Kingdom had already attacked. A total of more than a dozen experts of the 10th level of the martial realm joined forces and killed him in just a few breaths. Not to mention that Wu Qing was now seriously injured. Even if he was in perfect condition, he would not be able to stop so many experts. A head fell to the ground. The eyes were still wide open, as if they were staring at Hong Bin and the others. Those who surrender will not be killed. Hong Bin shouted again. This time, finally, no one stepped forward. Because those who had stepped forward were all dead. The rebels threw down their weapons one after another and chose to surrender. Hong Bin immediately ordered, Go and take their weapons. Then clean up the battlefield and take away all the people and things. On the other side, in a silent mountain forest, more than a dozen players wearing the rebel army's uniform were crawling there, as if they had merged with the surroundings. How long do we have to wait? Why haven't the rebels come yet? Don't worry. If the rebels flee, this is definitely the only way out. As long as we wait here and wait for the rebels to come, we will be able to gain a lot of contribution points, Lu Dazhong said with a smile. They were surrounded by mountains on all sides. Between the mountains, there was almost no gap. Only the canyon in front of them could allow them to quickly retreat. It was also the most likely escape route that the rebels would take. Don't forget that we just killed more than a dozen rebels guarding here. There are also explosives around. It is obvious that the rebels are preparing to retreat. According to Liu Dazhong's estimation, if the rebels were to flee, they would probably escape from here and then blow up the canyon to stop the Imperial Court's army from chasing them. Now, he had occupied this place. Then, when the rebels fled here and detonated the explosives, he would be able to gain a lot of experience and contribution points. This was also the humane part of the game. There was no need to personally kill NPCs to gain experience. As long as the system determined the cause and effect, he would be able to get the reward. Looking at Liu Dazhong's confident expression, the other players also calmed down. They went around the army, climbed mountains, and waded through rivers to reach this place. Wasn't it all for experience and contribution points? As long as they could achieve their goal, it didn't matter if they waited. Chapter 141. Outer Disciple Liu by Variant Human has successfully advanced to Inner Disciple. Outer Disciple Lin Quanyong, Variant Human, has successfully advanced to Inner Disciple. Outer Disciple Wang Jiao, Variant Human, has successfully advanced to Inner Disciple. 3 system messages. This meant that 3 players had been promoted to Inner Disciple. Inside Yuan's sect, Qin Shujian was also slightly stunned. To be honest, he was really surprised that a player could be promoted to Inner Disciple so quickly. At this moment, originally, there were only 2,000 plus life force left, but now it had broken through 5 digits and reached 15,000 points. 15,000 points. Other than the Black Tiger Saber technique, which had no movement, the rest of the cultivation techniques and martial arts showed a plus sign. However, Qin Shujian did not immediately level up. His gaze lingered on Yuan Dian, Ming King Prison Breaking Saber, and the last 5 elements 8 trigram steps. There was no need to mention the first 2 cultivation techniques and martial arts. Yuan Dian directly increased his strength. As a mid-grade true rank martial art, the Ming King Prison Breaking Saber would definitely be even more powerful if it was raised by another level. As for the last 5 elements 8 trigram steps, this was actually the most difficult choice for Qin Shujian. He did not forget. After becoming one with the world, it was the level of entering the Tao. There was no need to say what benefits the Black Tiger Saber technique brought him. If the 5 elements 8 trigram steps also reached the Tao, it would definitely bring about a huge change. A moment later. Forget it, in the end, the realm is the foundation of everything. Any martial arts is just a supplementary effect. Qin Shujian sighed and decided not to dwell on it any longer. 10,000 life force disappeared. Yuan Dian directly deduced to the 15th level. It was also the 5th level of the true martial arts. 15th level of Yuan Dian, mid-grade true rank, level 15 life extension, level 11 indestructible body, level 10 true essence, level 2 internal supreme force. All other characteristics increased by 2 levels. Only the internal supreme force only increased by 1 level. Qin Shujian felt the surge of true essence in his body, as well as the tougher internal supreme force, and a smile appeared on his face. He realized for the first time, establishing the Yuan sect was the right thing to do. It couldn't be any more right. He strolled around leisurely. He directly harvested more than 20,000 points of life force, and his realm increased by 2 levels. Looking at the remaining 5,000 life force, without much hesitation, Qin Shujian directly upgraded the Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber. 3,000 life sources disappeared. In the end, he got the Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber, which was at the perfection stage. Strength. It had grown by quite a bit again. After Qin Shujian adapted to his increased strength, he went outside. Greetings, sect leader. Disciple greets sect master. From time to time, disciples would stop to greet him. Sect master, why are you here? Zhang Fang was writing something in the newly built martial arts hall. When he saw Qin Shujian arrive, he immediately stood up. Qin Shujian looked at the empty drill hall and asked, "How are the preparations going?" "It's almost done. I just need to find a few more deacons who have a deeper understanding of martial arts. Then, I can directly teach them to the disciples." Zhang Fang stroked his short beard. There was a faint smile on his face. Obviously, he was in a good mood. Qin Shujian nodded to himself. It was impossible for any sect to allow their disciples to practice martial arts on their own. It was inevitable that the elders or deacons in the sect would regularly explain some difficult cultivation problems to the disciples, preaching, receiving, and dispelling doubts. Zheng Fang was the most familiar with this. Therefore, Qin Shujian directly asked people to build a place and copied the name of the drill hall. If the establishment of the sect was too hasty before, then now, Qin Shujian was constantly perfecting this sect system so that it could attract more people and cultivate more experts in the sect. After tasting the sweetness of the life source provided by the people under him, he knew it was really useless to fight alone. If there was a sect to support him, then his realm would definitely soar rapidly. When the time came, players and whatnot were just small problems. Qin Shujian casually found a place to sit down and said with a faint smile, "What does the elder plan to do?" "Sect Master, do you have any advice for me?" Zheng Fang asked in return. "Haha, since you are the elder, you are fully in charge of these matters. Sect Master, if you have any suggestions, why don't you let me hear them? Let's talk about it later." Qin Shujian shook his head and laughed. Then, he chatted with Zheng Fang for a while. Then, he changed the topic and asked, "Elder Zheng, what do you think the Origin sect should do now?" Upon hearing this, Zheng Fang's expression turned serious as he stopped what he was doing. After pondering for a while, he said, "The Origin sect's strength is top-notch in the true dominion of the Liang Mountain. However, it is still slightly inferior compared to all the sects in the true dominion." On this point, Qin Shujian was also aware of this. After all, the Origin sect had just been established. Other than him, who appeared to be a peak true martial realm sect master but was actually a 5th stage true martial realm sect master, there were only a few elders at the 1st or 2nd stage of the true martial realm. No one in the true dominion of the Liang Mountain could contend with such strength. However, the Origin sect could only be considered at the bottom among all the sections. Zheng Fang was already being very tactful when he said that it was slightly inferior. "In my opinion, the true dominion of the Liang Mountain is not small. It will still be of great help to the development of the Origin sect. Therefore, the Origin sect should prioritize stability for now. We will think about other things in the future." Elder Zheng's thoughts coincide with mine. Qin Shujian nodded his head in agreement. After chatting for a while, he stood up and left. Along the way, Qin Shujian thought about many things. Almost every sect in the true dominion had gone through hundreds of years of consolidation before they had their current foundation. An old sect like the Blue Cloud sect had been around for hundreds of years. Compared to these sects, the Origin sect was no different from a newborn child. If they wanted to run, they needed time to learn how to walk. The first thing that came to Qin Shujian's mind was to raise the strength of the NPCs in the sect quickly. If one had to talk about the advantages of NPCs, they should be able to increase their strength quickly by killing players. However, there were restrictions when NPCs killed players. They could not kill players whose cultivation level was lower than 3 levels. Based on his experience in the Shining Plane, there were not many players who were at the 8th level of the basic martial arts realm. The effect of NPCs on the true martial realm elders was close to nil. Furthermore, as the strength of the players increased, if he continued to kill players wantonly as he had in the past, the players would definitely resist. Qin Shujian had never dared to underestimate the players with the title of the 4th Calamity. Therefore, instead of killing players and becoming the target of public criticism, it was more practical to recruit a group of players and make them work for him. It seems that if I want to increase the strength of the NPCs now, I can either let them cultivate step by step or increase the level of my faction, Qin Shujian thought to himself. Compared to the former, he preferred the latter. However, it was already difficult to increase the strength of a 3rd-level faction. It would be even more difficult to increase it to a 4th-level faction. The Origin sect is not stable now. It is unrealistic to swallow other factions unless we can obtain more luck points like last time. Only then can we increase the strength of our faction quickly. For no reason, a shocking thought appeared in Qin Shujian's mind. Find the demons, then kill them and sacrifice them to the heavens. Once this thought appeared, he could not control it. The demons were indeed strong, but they did not seem to be as scary as the rumors said. At least the undead demon lord who died in his hands was really such a thing. However, this thought could only be temporarily thought of. Not to mention anything else, just where to find the demons was a problem. One day later, Songhong and the others returned. However, compared to when they went, they were in high spirits. This time, they came back in a somewhat sorry state. Not to mention anything else. When the 5 true martial realm elders returned, almost all of them were injured. Among them, Fu Gang and Su Yuanming looked even more miserable, as if they had suffered some kind of serious injury. The only thing to be thankful for was how many people had gone, how many people had returned. No one had died in the hands of the rebel army. Inside the Qingwu Hall, Qin Shujian looked at the people who looked much better after washing up, but their auras were still unstable. He frowned. The strength of the rebel army was really so strong that even you were seriously injured? There was an expert suspected to be above the 7th level of the true martial realm in the rebel army. At the last moment, he forcefully broke through the shackles of the ordinary realm. Although he was killed by the wrath of heaven, he still seriously injured Elder Fu and Elder Su. Song Hong answered truthfully, and then smiled bitterly. This time we followed the army to battle. We all underestimated the rebel army. Subsequently, he told him everything that had happened this time. Qin Shujian listened to the other's words. His expression also changed slightly. According to Songhong, although the rebel army had been destroyed this time, the imperial court had also suffered heavy losses. Tens of thousands of soldiers had died directly or indirectly at the hands of the rebel army. Even the commander of Bingjiang City had been blown apart by Lin Shixiang's spear. However, what really caught Qin Shujian's attention was, it was the Marquis of Yifeng. Obviously, the origin of the rebel army was the so-called Marquis of Yifeng. A marquis openly rebelled and established the Great Feng Kingdom. In the end, it was destroyed by the Great Zhao, leaving Lin Shixiang and the other remnants to flee. Looking at the situation on the Xining Plains, the so-called rebel army was not tyrannical, but a rebellion was a rebellion. In the eyes of the imperial court, this was something that could not be tolerated. After understanding some more of the situation, Qin Shujian let Songhong and the others go down to recuperate. Subsequently, Qin Shujian spent a portion of his life source to create the identity token for everyone in Yuan sect. After studying it, he found out the identity token could not only be used by players, even NPCs could use it. The only difference was, NPCs could not accept missions through the system. However, Qin Shujian had already thought of a compromise. That was to make a mission hall and hang a series of missions on it for the people of Yuan sect to accept. In that case, whether it was issuing missions or accepting missions, it would be much more convenient. In addition, when NPCs completed missions, they would also be able to obtain the corresponding contribution points and then exchange them for the corresponding sect benefits. As for the mission review, Qin Shujian also had a suitable candidate. Because he found out, the ability to modify the contribution points of the token could be given to others. But the contribution points would definitely be very important in Yuan sect in the future. Therefore, the person who grasped this ability had to be very careful. Other than the initial people, Qin Shujian did not trust anyone else. Chapter 142. Inner Disciple. He could learn the middle-level true-level cultivation method, the complete basic martial arts of the Origin Codex. For Wangjiu, this should be the biggest reward of this large-scale mission. 500 contribution points. It wasn't that he killed 500 rebels, but he took advantage of the chaos to pick up a few heads and kill the small boss of the 10th stage of the martial arts realm. After being promoted to an inner disciple, Wangjiu immediately went to find the elder of imparting techniques and learned the complete basic martial arts. 500 contribution points in exchange for the identity of an inner disciple. This deal should not be a loss. Looking at the identity token that only had a single-digit contribution points left, his face revealed a smile. Unfortunately, an inner disciple needed 2,000 contribution points to be promoted to an elite disciple. For him now, this goal was still too far away. Immediately, Wangjiu walked towards the book collection pavilion. in front of the book collection pavilion. I want to go into the book collection pavilion. Give me your identity token. Hearing this, Wang Ju took out his identity token and handed it to the person in front of him. Ran Yuan looked at the identity token and returned it, lightly saying, "Inner disciples can use contribution points to enter the first 2 floors of the book collection pavilion. Are you sure you want to enter? Deacon, please make an exception. Go in. Remember that you can only stay in the book collection pavilion for 2 hours at most." Yes. When Wang Jio stepped into the book collection pavilion, the contribution points on the identity token were instantly reset to 0. On the other side, Ran Yuan, on the other hand, sat back down. He was originally a member of the Cold Mountain Stronghold's Information Hall, but now that Wang Taizhu was in charge of the book collection pavilion, he was directly transferred over. It could be said that, in the first 3 floors of the book collection pavilion, each floor's entrance was guarded by someone similar to him. As for Elder Wang Taizhu, unless there was an emergency, he rarely showed up. Looking at the cultivation methods and martial arts in the book collection pavilion, Wang Ji's face also revealed a smile. Some people were happy. Naturally, some people were worried. Compared to the joy of Wang Jio and the others being promoted to an inner disciple, there were other players who were happy to harvest a lot of contribution points. Lu Dazhong felt a little sad. Looking at the few people next to him who looked like they wanted to eat him, he felt guilty and helpless. He never would he have thought that. Surprisingly, the rebel army did not flee. Instead, they chose to surrender. As a result, a few people who were squatting at the rear, preparing to cut off the rebel army's retreat, were bitten by all kinds of insects. Then, they waited there for an entire day. Lu Dazhong, is this what you meant by sure? Miao Yuqing clenched her teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. If it weren't for the fact that they were best friends in real life, she wouldn't have been able to hold herself back from taking action. Loss. It was a huge loss. It could be said that almost all of the Yuan sect players had profited greatly from this large-scale mission, except for those who were stoned to death before they could even see the rebel army, or those who were accidentally killed by the rebel army. In the entire Yuan sect, they were the most miserable. It was a large-scale mission. He didn't get a single contribution point. He didn't even get any experience. Lu Dazhong opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he didn't say anything. He looked at the scene in front of him. The more he tried to defend himself, the more likely he would be beaten up. In the next few days, the mission hall could be considered to have been completed. With Zhang Tiniu, the law-enforcing elder, in charge, Qin Shujian was quite relieved. Not long after, the carrier trading company sent a message saying that a shipment of goods would be passing through the true dominion of Mount Liang. They hoped that the Yuan sect could send some people to help. Qin Shujian naturally wouldn't reject such a matter that had been discussed long ago. However, this time, he didn't send people to take action directly. Instead, he posted a mission in the mission hall. Escort mission. Protect the convoy of the carrier trading company as they leave the true dominion of Mount Liang. During this period, you must ensure the safety of the goods. Mission requirement: Martial Arts Realm Level 7 and above. Mission completion reward: 3 taels of silver and 5 contribution points. Note: this mission requires 10 people to take it. Instantly, the mission hall attracted many people. However, when they saw the mission requirements, many players sighed inwardly. Martial Arts Realm Level 7 was a hurdle that most of the Yuan sect players couldn't cross. However, the players couldn't meet the requirements, but it didn't mean that the others in the Yuan sect couldn't. This mission had been posted for less than an hour. It had been taken clean. On the other side, Qin Shujian was in a good mood. This was because he discovered another problem. The missions posted through the mission hall could selectively decide whether to consume life force. According to his guess, whether or not to consume life force would most likely determine whether the players would be able to obtain experience points through completing the mission. This way, posting missions through the mission hall had undoubtedly reduced his cost by a lot, as the players continued to enter. Until now, the number of players who had joined the Yuan sect had reached more than 1,000. There were nearly 2,000 of them. This was a very large number. At the same time, it also meant that The addition of these players had brought in tens of thousands of taels of silver for the Yuan sect. There were so many players. As long as they killed monsters, Qin Shujian would be able to obtain life force. Therefore, he was slowly increasing it almost every moment. Even though the increase wasn't as fast as when he eliminated the rebel army, it was still very impressive over time. Considering the increasing number of players, Qin Shujian consumed life force again and posted a mission to expand the village. Instantly, with Mount Liang as the center, it was already surrounded by the village. All the outer sect disciples were temporarily living in the village. According to Qin Shujian's estimation, if there were more and more inner sect disciples in the future, even some of them would have to live at the foot of the mountain. With a large sum of money, Qin Shujian waved his hand and directly sent someone to the carrier trading company to purchase a batch of 9th grade armors, all of which were printed with the unique symbol of the Yuan sect. All the outer sect disciples who joined the Yuan sect would be able to obtain a set of 9th grade armors. Very soon, he spat out most of the money he earned from the players. However, Qin Shujian didn't mind. Anyway, earning money from the players was secondary. The main thing was to use the players to obtain more life force. Later, Qin Shujian went to the outer sect disciples to take a look. As a result, he really did find a few traders with negative loyalty. Without saying much, he directly expelled them from the sect and sent them back to their hometown. As for the reason, why would a sect master need to give an outer sect disciple a reason to do something? How much money is left in the Yuan sect? 21,351 taels. Su Yuanming looked at the account book and answered honestly. As the Yuan sect grew stronger, they also needed someone to manage the expenditure. Su Yuanming, one of the elders, directly took over this matter. Looking at the 93 points of loyalty of the other party, Qin Shujian felt that he was more trustworthy. How much of the 21,000 taels can be used? According to our current expenditure, the daily expenditure is about 300 taels. 20,000 taels can only be used for about 2 months. After deducting the daily expenditure, there is almost nothing that can be used. The higher the realm, the greater the expenditure. In addition to the 4,000 players and NPCs in the Yuan sect, the daily expenditure of 300 taels was already considered low. Qin Shujian suddenly realized. It turned out that he was still very poor. He sighed in his heart, "I am still a poor man." After checking the accounts of the Yuan sect, Qin Shujian pondered as he walked. When he was about to reach the Chengwu Hall, he suddenly changed direction and headed straight for the Hall of Missions. Wool comes from sheep's back. If the sect wanted to make money, it still had to rely on these disciples. Immediately after, Qin Shujian posted a long-term mission in the mission hall, asking to collect all kinds of exotic flowers, fruits, and precious ores. According to the degree of preciousness, a certain amount of contribution points would be given. This mission instantly attracted everyone's attention. After all, to them, contribution points were the most difficult thing to obtain. Besides the newly established Yuan sect and the division of positions, now, whether it was NPCs or players, if they wanted to upgrade their identity tokens, they had to complete it through contribution points. Unless they were especially superior, there was a possibility of an exception to upgrade. After posting the mission, Qin Shujian sent someone to the branch of the Cheng Transport Company to ask Gu Feng for a picture book that recorded ores, exotic flowers, fruits, and other things, as well as the corresponding approximate price. After all, if it was to be reviewed, the amount of contribution points to be given would depend on the degree of preciousness. After doing all these things, Qin Shujian suddenly realized that he seemed to have a lot of free time. Originally, it was a boss, but now it had become a bigger boss. Moreover, it was the kind of boss that was the master of a sect. He didn't need to worry about players attacking him at this stage, because, before attacking him, they had to go through the Yuan sect players first. As time went by, the relationship between the Yuan sect and the players had already deepened. There were many things involved. The probability of these players betraying him was close to 0. However, to prevent accidents, Qin Shujian still checked the loyalty of these people every now and then. As long as there were no negative numbers, there wasn't a big problem. At the peak of Mount Liang, except for Qin Shujian, no one had the right to set foot here without permission. as Mount Liang rose higher. This could be said to be the place closest to the sky in the Mount Liang True Dominion. Looking at the 15,000 plus points of life and the Yuan Dian that had a plus sign, Qin Shujian directly chose to upgrade it. In an instant, 15,000 points of life disappeared. The Yuan Dian was upgraded to the 16th level. The 16th level of the Yuan Dian, middle grade true rank, level 17 longevity extension, level 13 indestructible body, level 1 astral breaking quintessential essence, level 3 internal energy. The astral breaking quintessential essence had evolved into the astral breaking quintessential essence. The other changes were not big. Qin Shujian looked at the words longevity extension. He suddenly wanted to know how much lifespan the 17th level of longevity extension had increased. Or rather, how long could he live now? However, lifespan was illusory. Qin Shujian could only feel the vigorous vitality in his body. As for the length of his lifespan, he couldn't feel it at all. Subsequently, he put this matter aside and turned his gaze to the other two cultivation techniques. Chapter 143. Inferno Technique of the True Rank. Inferno Technique of the True Rank. Looking at the little bit of life force left, Qin Shujian wanted to directly increase it. However, he thought of the additional attributes of the title of Liang Mountain Protectorate Lord. His attack would be increased by 20%. His opponent's attack would be reduced by 20%. These two attributes. If he fought in the Liang Mountain True Dominion, he would be able to reduce his opponent's attributes by 40%. However, Qin Shujian had never fought with an expert in the Liang Mountain True Dominion. Therefore, he did not have a deep understanding of these additional attributes. However, apart from these two attributes, there was a third attribute of the title of Liang Mountain Protectorate Lord. His cultivation speed would increase. This was a vague concept. It did not specify how much the increase would be. More importantly, Qin Shujian noticed the word cultivation. In the past, he had used his life force to upgrade his cultivation techniques and martial arts. Apart from cultivating the 7-leaf flower-piercing palm by accident, he had not done anything else. However, now, Qin Shujian wanted to try it himself. Of course, he mainly wanted to save his life force. Moreover, he had been relatively free recently. There were sect disciples harvesting life force for him. He did not need to do it himself. He would do it as soon as he thought of it. Qin Shujian looked at the spirit energy of heaven and earth that was traveling between heaven and earth. Then, he sat down cross-legged and started to absorb the spirit energy of heaven and earth according to the method recorded in the Inferno technique. In the blink of an eye, as Qin Shujian breathed in and out, the spirit energy of heaven and earth swarmed toward a certain direction as if it had encountered a giant whale sucking in water. It took less than 2 or 3 seconds. Qin Shujian received a notification from the system. After diligent cultivation, your Inferno technique has been upgraded to the 2nd level. Regarding this, he didn't stop his cultivation at all. Time passed slowly. After half a day, the spirit energy of heaven and earth dispersed. Qin Shujian stood up and checked his status. His quintessential essence did not increase much, but there was a little bit of burning aura. At the same time, the Inferno technique had been upgraded to the 5th level. Inferno technique level 5, low-grade true rank, Inferno true chi level 1-inch 5-fold Inferno art. Qin Shujian nodded to himself. With his cultivation at LV6 of the true martial realm, it would be a piece of cake for him to practice basic martial arts. Not to mention, there was also the bonus of the title of Cold Mountain Region Master. This way, his cultivation speed would be even more astonishing. According to Qin Shujian's estimation, the 5-fold Inferno art had saved him a few hundred life force points. Although this source of life was not much, in the future, if he had other cultivation methods, he could use this method to cultivate. When the progress was very slow, he could use this source of life to improve. Over the years, he would be able to save a lot of life force. More importantly, this kind of step-by-step cultivation gave Qin Shujian an inexplicable sense of accomplishment. There was also, he was really free. Subsequently, Qin Shujian once again operated the raging flame technique, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth once again swarmed towards him. This caused the peak of Mount Liang to be enveloped in a dense spiritual energy. Moreover, the clouds and mist seemed to have gained a faint green color. Such a change. It did not cause too much of a commotion, but anyone who saw it would at most stop and look at it for a while before moving on to do other things. For 5 days in a row, Qin Shujian did not leave the peak of the mountain for even half a step. As a price, the raging flame technique had also been cultivated from the 5th layer to the 9th layer. Raging flame technique, 8th layer, low-grade true level, raging flame true chi level, 4 level 4 raging flame true chi. It had already caused his true chi to have an obvious burning sensation. Qin Shujian tried to imprint his palm on a big rock. When his palm left, it left a burning mark. To this, he was quite satisfied. The only regret was, as the layers of the raging flame technique increased, even with the bonus of the title and the foundation of LV6 of the true martial realm, his cultivation speed still slowed down. 10,000 Yong ordinary realm. On a plain, many players were watching. At this time, many of them had already turned on the recording function. Zhao Ming felt the surrounding gazes, and his face faintly revealed a proud expression. As everyone knows, as long as someone breaks through to the true martial realm in the ordinary realm, he will be able to break through and promote the advancement of the ordinary realm. The person who breaks through the shackles will also become the so-called Protectorate Lord. Now, a player has finally reached this step. Let's wait and see. The players who were recording the scene were mumbling. The surrounding atmosphere was very enthusiastic. After all, although the progress of this game was quite fast in the early stages, it slowed down from LV6 of the martial realm onwards. Firstly, it was limited by the cultivation technique. Secondly, it required a lot of experience for each subsequent level. In addition, there was the penalty of dropping 1 level for each accidental death, which slowed down the speed of leveling. However, no matter how slow the speed was, there was always a small group of players who took the lead and reached the limit of the ordinary realm. One more step. It was the true martial realm that no player had reached. I want to be the first player to reach the true martial realm. I want to become the true Protectorate Lord too. After today, everyone in the game should remember my name, Zhao Ming. Zhao Ming stood with his hands behind his back, the corners of his mouth curling up slightly. This time, he wanted to gain both fame and fortune. Zhao Ming looked at the low-grade truth-level cultivation technique on the attribute panel and took out a scarlet elixir pill. The elixir pill was called the Essence Strengthening Elixir. However, the players preferred to call it the Experience Elixir. This was an elixir pill that could provide a large amount of experience points to the cultivation technique after consumption. It was not only rare but also precious among the players. In order to obtain this Essence Strengthening Elixir, Zhao Ming had paid a hefty price. Immediately, he swallowed the Essence Strengthening Elixir. The experience points of the 10th level of the cultivation technique increased rapidly and reached the 11th level in a short while. Rumble. Thunder snakes danced in the sky as if it was the end of the world. Breaking the shackles was not going against the heavens, but one had to go through the necessary tests. Otherwise, if one advanced to the true dominion and the Protectorate Lord's strength was not strong enough, it would be a sin that could not be redeemed. Zhao Ming did not even think about it. He took out a set of armor and put it on. Then, he held a long sword. At this moment, he could already feel that his body was undergoing earth-shattering changes. He could see the black threads intertwining in his vision. The shackles of the ordinary dominion were completely revealed in front of him. Zhao Ming waved his sword and slashed at the intertwining black net. Then, he had spent a lot of effort to obtain a grade 3 sharp weapon. However, when it came into contact with the black net, it seemed to have encountered an indestructible defense. The black threads only trembled slightly, but it could not cut through at all. This time, it had completely angered the thunder in the sky. The thunder snakes swooped down and completely enveloped Zhao Ming. He looked at the shocking thunder. Zhao Ming felt as if his heart was being squeezed tightly by a large hand. However, the grade 3 armor he was wearing still gave him great confidence and confidence. It was rumored that this level of armor could even resist the attack of a true martial realm expert. rumble. The dense thunder poured down and turned the area where Zhao Ming was standing into a thunder zone. Some of the spectating players who were close to the scene turned into white light and dissipated the moment they touched the overflowing thunder. This scene. Immediately, the spectating players who were watching the video were frightened and retreated. They only calmed down after they had retreated to a safe area. When they looked at the field, their line of sight was completely blocked by the thunder. How is it? This is the danger of breaking through the shackles. It's really amazing. Does Zhao Ming have a chance to become a territorial lord? Who knows? I heard that he spent a lot of money to become a territorial lord this time and finally collected a grade 3 sharp weapon and a grade 3 armor. Many players were shocked and talked about the scene in front of them. In order to create the effect after the breakthrough, Zhao Ming had already spread the news from the beginning and attracted a large number of players to promote it. Now, the thunder blocked their line of sight. No one could see what was going on inside. The sound of rolling thunder was deafening, covering all other sounds. Many players had mixed feelings in their hearts. They hoped that he could become a territorial lord, but they also hoped that he would fail the breakthrough. It was in this tangled and complicated mood. The thunder and lightning raged for more than 10 minutes. At the end, the sky suddenly became clear and the scene of thunder and lightning dancing wildly disappeared. Everyone immediately turned to look at the battlefield. They saw that where Zhao Ming was standing had become a deep pit. The bottom of the pit and its surroundings were burnt black and a few broken pieces of metal were scattered. As for Zhao Ming, he had already disappeared. Hua! All the players were in an uproar. He failed. Looking at the broken pieces of metal, it seemed that even the grade 3 armor had been broken. Instantly, seeing this scene, everyone's hearts trembled. The danger of advancing to the domain lord level rose sharply in their hearts. An expert of the 10th stage of the martial arts, with a grade 3 armor. In this situation, he was struck by the thunder and lightning for more than 10 minutes. In the end, the armor was broken and not even his bones were left. Such a situation. It was enough to cause a huge psychological impact to those who wanted to become a territorial lord. Immediately, the news of Zhao Ming's failure spread like the wind. The video of him becoming a territorial lord was also posted on the forum. Seeing the scene of the thunder and lightning completely swallowing the person, some players who wanted to become a territorial lord had to give up on the idea. Until now, no one knew what they could get by becoming a territorial lord. But if they failed, the losses were obvious. Some people secretly sneered when they saw the scene in the video. Some even took pleasure in the misfortune of others. They all knew. After this failure, Zhao Ming would not be able to recover, but he would at least fall from the first tier. No matter what, as the first player in the game to attempt to become a domain lord, his name had spread far and wide. However, the price of this fame was a little high. Because of this, some 10th stage of the martial arts had already walked towards the true territorial lord. It was difficult to break the shackles. There was no need to be stubborn. Chapter 144. Half a month passed. Among the players, there were people who had broken through to the true martial realm. Someone announced the difference between the true martial realm and the basic martial realm. It caused a frenzy of leveling up. However, compared to the total number of players, the number of players who had broken through to the true martial realm was still very few. The reason was the shackles of cultivation techniques. A low-grade true level cultivation technique. Currently, it was priceless and not everyone could get it. Even if it was a high-grade mortal level cultivation technique, there weren't many players who had it. On Yuan Zhong's side, all the players were working hard to earn contribution points. Someone had entered the book collection pavilion. They discovered that the second floor of the book collection pavilion had a complete basic martial realm cultivation technique. However, these cultivation techniques didn't include the origin codex. In other words, if one wanted to get a cultivation technique after the true martial realm, one had to enter the third floor of the book collection pavilion. However, to enter the third floor of the book collection pavilion, one had to become an elite disciple to be qualified to enter. To become an elite disciple, one needed 2,000 contribution points. This was a goal that wasn't easy to achieve. However, to become an elite disciple, that wasn't their goal. Their goal was to become an inner disciple and obtain the complete Origin Codex basic martial realm cultivation technique. Because according to the latest news from the Martial Arts Hall, as long as an inner disciple reached the 10th stage of the basic martial realm, they could spend a certain amount of contribution points to obtain the cultivation technique after breaking through to the true martial realm. This was the main reason that stimulated the players. How many contribution points do you need to become an inner disciple? Around 200. What about you? Haha, I only need around 100 points to be able to break through. The players that met, as long as they were familiar with each other, would ask about contribution points first, compared to the difficulty of obtaining contribution points in the beginning. Now, there was a permanent mission to exchange precious materials for contribution points. Although it was still difficult to earn contribution points, it wasn't that difficult. Everyone understood. This was actually using money to buy contribution points. However, for the players, without investment, how could there be returns? There's a new mission in the mission hall. It was unknown which player said this, but it immediately attracted a lot of people over. When the later players arrived, they discovered that the mission hall was already filled to the brim. There were a total of 3 escort missions. 2 of them required one to be at the 7th stage of the basic martial realm. The last one, it required a true martial realm expert. When the players saw the last message, they only glanced at it twice before abandoning it. True martial realm. Right now, other than those elders, there was no one else in Yuan's sect. Inside the Chengwu Hall, Qin Shujian and a group of elders gathered together. The reason they were here this time was because of the escort mission of the Cheng Shipping Company, asking for a true martial realm escort. This was also the first time that Qin Shujian had seen something like this. For such a long time, the carrier trading company had transported goods through the Liang Mountain True Dominion more than 10 times. However, only basic martial realm cultivators were needed to escort the goods, as the trading company itself would be equipped with a certain number of experts. This time, the Chengyun Trading Company needs 3 real martial realm martial artists as escorts. Elders, who do you intend to send? Qin Shujian, who was dressed in a green robe, asked calmly from the main seat. His elegant green robe accentuated his temperament. No one knew that the so-called green gown was actually a 5th-grade armor. Song Hong took the lead and said, "I'll accept this escort mission." Shortly after, another 2 elders rushed to accept the mission. As for contribution points, there was a shortage of disciples and elders. There was no difference between NPCs and players when it came to learning cultivation techniques. They had to familiarize themselves with the techniques before they could be considered to have learned the cultivation technique. Elders had a chance to enter the library for free once a month. However, it was not enough to enter for 2 hours at a time. However, if they wanted to enter for an additional period of time, they had to consume contribution points like players. Regarding this, Qin Shujian did not say anything. In his mind, he already had the idea of using contribution points to gradually replace currency in Yuan sect, even though players could not exchange contribution points with each other. However, they could barter with other items. However, the sect had just started, and he could not become a big fat person in one go. He had to take it slow. This time, the goods will be sent to the Xuanchu True Dominion. I'll go with you this time. Sect Master is going too? Upon hearing this, many elders were shocked. Qin Shujian seemed to have seen through their thoughts and said, "Don't worry. I just happen to have something to do in the Xuanchu True Dominion. Your mission will not change." Yes. The group of people from the carrier trading company traveled slowly. However, it seemed that the group of people was in a sorry state. Many of them even had bloodstains on their bodies. It seemed that there had been an intense battle. The Liang Mountain True Dominion is in front. The experts of Yuan sect should be there to receive us. Everyone, cheer up. Li Chongshi shouted in the middle of the group of people, urging them to move forward quickly. Upon hearing this, the people of the group of people were shocked and the haze in their hearts dissipated. Upon seeing this, Li Chongshi entered one of the carriages. In the carriage, an old man in his 50s was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. There were faint bloodstains on his left shoulder. As Li Chongshi entered, he opened his eyes. Are you ready to reach the Liang Mountain True Dominion? Soon. Guest Elder Gon, how are you feeling? I won't die. The old man, Gon Zhoming, shook his head slightly and said, listening to him speak, he was still full of energy. This made Li Chongshi feel at ease. Guest Elder Gon, with your knowledge, can you tell who robbed our goods? It's hard to say. There are many experts in the world. I can't tell who they are either. However, this group of people will definitely not give up. Gon Zhoming's face was solemn. After pausing for a while, he continued, this time, they didn't know that I was here, so they failed at the last step. However, they will definitely be fully prepared next time. How many experts will the Liang Mountain True Dominion send over? 3 true martial realm experts. 3 true martial realm experts. Upon hearing this, the solemn expression on Gon Zhoming's face faded a little. However, he still asked, this is the first time I've heard of the Liang Mountain True Dominion. I wonder how powerful the sects are and how powerful the experts are. He had never heard of the Liang Mountain True Dominion before. However, he didn't find it strange. After all, there were many True Dominion and Ordinary Dominion in the world. Not everyone knew about them. Li Chongshi replied truthfully, the Liang Mountain True Dominion was recently promoted to a True Dominion. There is only one sect, the Yuan sect, that has a Dominion Lord. Apart from that, there are only elders at the first or second stage of the true martial realm. According to my estimation, the experts sent this time should only be at the first or second stage of the true martial realm. Dominion Lord. Gon Zhoming's heart skipped a beat. Obviously, these 2 words had a huge impact on him. However, very soon, he shook his head and sighed. They know that I'm at the 3rd stage of the true martial realm. The next person who comes will probably be an expert who has reached the inner energy realm. I'm afraid that it will be difficult to deal with a few experts at the 1st or 2nd stage of the true martial realm, unless the Liang Mountain Dominion Lord is willing to help. Upon seeing this, Li Chongshi's face darkened. To be honest, this attack had come completely out of the blue. The other party was very powerful and had several experts at the true martial realm as their main force. If Gon Zhoming hadn't secretly followed the carriage, the other party would have succeeded. However, even so, after killing 2 true martial realm martial artists, Gon Zhoming had also suffered heavy injuries. Even many of the guards in the caravan had been killed. If what the other party had said was true, it was still uncertain whether the goods could reach the Mystic Void True Dominion safely. Just as Li Chongshi was feeling apprehensive, the merchant group had already entered the Liang Mountain True Dominion. Are you our friends from the carrier trading company ahead? The voice was mixed with quintessential essence and spread directly into everyone's ears. Li Chongshi and Gon Zhoming glanced at each other. In the end, Gon Zhoming didn't stay in the carriage, but Zhang Hong got out. Looking at the 4 people in front of him and the symbol on their clothes, Li Chongshi's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. However, he still cupped his hands and smiled. May I ask if you are friends from the Yuan sect? Yes. As he spoke, Zhang Hong threw the token at his waist over. The token flew through the air. Li Chongshi stretched out his hand and caught it firmly. After taking a good look at the token, he finally relaxed, and his expression was one of relief. Chongyun Trading Company's Deacon Li Chongshi greets Elder Zhang. As he spoke, he had already stepped forward and returned the token. May I know how to address you? I remember that the Yuan sect only needed 3 experts at the true martial realm. Why are there 4 of them now? This was what had puzzled him at the beginning. To be honest, if it wasn't for Zhang Hong's token, he would have thought that the other party was in cahoots with the robbers. Yuan sect Elder Qiu Ping. Yuan sect Elder Chao Sheng. Yuan sect's sect leader Qin Shujian. When Li Chongshi heard this, he was about to cup his hands and greet him. However, he suddenly stopped and looked at Qin Shujian in shock. Yuan sect's sect leader. Wasn't that Liang Mountain region leader? Instantly, Li Chongshi was overjoyed. He bowed and said, I didn't know that sect leader Qin was here. Please forgive me if I have been rude. Deacon Li, you are too polite. Qin Shujian smiled and said, I came here abruptly this time. I am following the caravan to the Xuanchu True region. I hope you don't mind. As for the other elders, they are the ones who will accept this mission. Mind? No way. Li Chongshi now felt that the god of luck was looking after him. He would get whatever he needed. Now that the caravan was facing unknown trouble, he was completely relieved that Qin Shujian, the Liang Mountain region leader, was there to take charge. A region leader level expert. No ordinary true martial realm expert could compare to him. After the surprise, Li Chongshi quickly regained his senses and said with a smile, "Since sect leader Qin is here, why would I mind? Please follow me." Looking at the caravan in front of him, Qin Shujian asked as he walked, "What kind of trouble has the caravan encountered?" To be honest, sect leader Qin, the caravan was attacked by true martial realm experts this time. If it wasn't for the true martial realm experts accompanying us and fighting with their lives, I'm afraid we would have died this time. Li Chongshi didn't hide it and shook his head and sighed. Chapter 145. Real Martial Arts Realm Attack? Qin Shujian was also a little surprised. With the reputation of the carrier trading company, anyone who dared to go against them had to consider whether they could withstand their anger. However, the other party dared to do so. Either the goods this time were very profitable, or they had a grudge against the trading company. However, to Qin Shujian, it didn't matter what the reason was as long as the other party didn't do anything in the real domain of Mount Liang. After all, he had to keep his promise. Sect Master Qin, please wait a moment. I'll ask Guest Elder Gon to come out. After entering the caravan, Li Chongshi went to Gon Zhoming's carriage, lifted a corner of the curtain, and whispered something. Qin Shujian didn't listen carefully, nor did he have the habit of eavesdropping. Then, an old man came down from the carriage, accompanied by Li Chongshi, and came to Qin Shujian. He cupped his hands and said politely, "I'm Gon Zhoming. Greetings to Sect Master Qin and elders of the Yuan sect. I've heard a lot about you." Qin Shujian replied politely. Xinghong and the others also cupped their hands slightly in return. In the face of a true martial realm expert, he still had to give him face. After Gon Zhoming finished speaking, he glanced at the four of them unnoticeably. With his experienced eyes, as long as the difference in their realms wasn't too big, he could tell at a glance how strong they were. Just as Li Chongshi had said, in his eyes, Zhang Hong and the other elders of the Yuan sect were probably at the first level of the real martial arts realm. Only Sect Master Qin in front of him. He couldn't see the bottom of him. It was as if there was a layer of fog, or as if there was a bottomless abyss behind the fog. He couldn't guess the depth at all. Seeing this, Gon Zhoming was shocked again. The person who could do this either had amazing concealment skills or was far stronger than him. However, he thought of the other party's status as a territorial lord. He was more inclined to the latter. Li Chongshi interrupted, "It's dusty outside. Sect Master Qin and the others, please enter the carriage to rest." While speaking, he had already signaled with his eyes to lift the curtain of one of the carriages. Qin Shujian didn't refuse. After saying politely, he entered the carriage directly. After entering the carriage, only then did he realize that although the carriage was not big and could only accommodate 3 or 4 people, the facilities inside were complete. A short, square tea table was placed in the middle of the room. A kettle was placed on top of it, and steam was still coming out of it. Other than that, there were teacups, tea sets, and so on. Even fruits and snacks were prepared. Not long after Qin Shujian entered the carriage, he closed his eyes and rested. This time, he was following the caravan to the mystic void true domain. If he encountered any trouble, he would not sit back and do nothing due to his relationship with the Chungyun Trading Company. However, he didn't encounter any trouble. Qin Shujian didn't want to waste too much time dealing with them. The recent him, he felt like he was addicted to cultivation. Regardless of whether it was the Raging Flame technique or the Ocean Origin Returning technique, both of them had been cultivated to the 10th stage of the basic martial realm. After that would be the true martial chapter. According to Qin Shujian's hunch, in about 10 days to half a month, he should be able to break through. If he cultivated diligently, he might be able to break through earlier. As for his main cultivation of the Origin Classic, it had already been deduced to the 17th stage. Because this cultivation technique could only rely on the source of life to pave the way forward, there was no longer any value in cultivating it. As for the 17th stage of the Origin Classic, it had also brought about huge changes. The 17th stage of the Origin Classic, high-grade true level, level 19 longevity extension, level 15 indestructible body, level 2 astral penetrating quintessential essence, level 1 physical invulnerability. The words internal invulnerability had already been replaced by physical invulnerability. However, Qin Shujian realized that this didn't mean that the effect of internal invulnerability had completely disappeared. Instead, as long as he wanted to, he could convert physical invulnerability to internal invulnerability at any time. The conversion between the two was already very easy for an expert at the 7th stage of the true martial realm. Furthermore, physical invulnerability was even more powerful than internal invulnerability. According to Qin Shujian's own estimation, even if he walked out of the true martial realm of the Liang Mountain True Domain, he could still be considered an expert in other true martial realm. The caravan moved forward slowly, with Qin Shujian, the Protectorate Lord, holding the fort this time. Li Chongshi and Gan Zhongming felt much more at ease. It wouldn't be easy to attack a Protectorate Lord of their own true domain. The Protectorate Lords of all time, they were almost invincible in their own true domains. Even if they weren't 100% invincible, this also proved how powerful a Protectorate Lord was. As for the other guards in the caravan, although they didn't know Qin Shujian's identity, they calmed down when they learned that 4 true martial realm experts had joined the caravan. In a secluded mountain forest, more than 100 people were wearing black face masks that only revealed their eyes and had long sabers at their waists. Their leader. A few of them had white, red, yellow, black, and green faces. This is the true domain of the Liang Mountain. The Origin sect has a good relationship with the Carrier Fortune Trading Company. We have to end this quickly. Otherwise, it will be troublesome if we attract the attention of the Protectorate Lord. The man with the white face spoke in a low voice. The man with the black face replied, "What if the Protectorate Lord finds out?" Retreat. He is nothing if he leaves the true domain of the Liang Mountain. Upon hearing this, the scene suddenly quieted down. No one objected to this statement. The Protectorate Lord was indeed powerful. However, one had to know where and who the other party was. A newly promoted Protectorate Lord was at most at the 1st or 2nd stage of the true martial realm. It was impossible for him to even reach the 2nd stage of the true martial realm. If he left the true domain with such strength, he would die. About half an hour later, a masked man leaped over from afar and landed in front of them. He knelt down on one knee, cupped his fists, and said, "My lords, the Carrier Fortune Trading Company's team is less than 5 kilometers away from us. Return to the team." The man with the white face waved his hand. The masked man stood up immediately and returned to the team. Then, the man with the white face said in a low voice, "Remember, don't leave anyone alive this time. Whoever obtains the item must leave the Liang Mountain Ordinary domain immediately and gather at the designated location." "Yes, let's go." The masked men, led by the man with the 5-colored face, rushed out like a flood. On the other side, the Carrier Fortune Trading Company's team was still moving forward. In the carriage, Qin Shujian exited his cultivation state and frowned. His eyes flickered as he looked at the water on the tea table, which was still emitting faint steam. Just a moment ago, he had sensed danger approaching. When he thought about what had happened to the Carrier Fortune Trading Company, he had a rough idea of what was going on. However, Qin Shujian did not leave the carriage either. It would be good if Songhong, Gan Zhongming, and the others could deal with the intruders. If they could not, he would find another opportunity to strike. As for leaving the Origin sect, Qin Shujian did not want to be too conspicuous. "Stop." A low voice was heard in the carriage. The caravan stopped immediately. Li Chongshi immediately came to the front of the carriage and asked, "Guest Elder Gan, what happened?" "This old man has a feeling. I'm afraid that group of thieves is here again." "Understood." Li Chongshi was shocked. However, he did not show any signs of panic. He turned around and shouted, "Everyone, be alert. Be careful of the enemy." As soon as he finished speaking, the caravan guards immediately gathered the goods and carriages together. Then, They drew their swords and sabers and formed a circle with their backs facing each other. Song Hong and the others also walked out of the carriage. Just as Li Chongshi was about to speak, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. Together with Song Hong and the others, his gaze fell on a certain direction. Over there, a powerful aura was approaching. If Gan Zhoming was at the third level of the true martial realm and had a stronger sense of perception than Li Chongshi, as the deacon of the caravan, was at the true martial realm. Although he had just entered the true martial realm, he had already crossed the threshold. Li Chongshi could sense it. So could Song Hong and the others. When they saw that there was no movement in the carriage where Qin Shujian was, they were reassured. The sect master did not move. This meant that the intruders were not strong enough. In less than 2 to 3 minutes, a large number of masked men rushed over from all directions and attacked the caravan without hesitation. Li Chongshi did not need to say anything. Seeing that the masked men were coming, the caravan guards immediately went forward. Saber light and sword shadows were unleashed in an instant. Boom! 5 terrifying auras exploded. 5 people flew over from afar. Before they arrived, their powerful attacks had already enveloped Li Chongshi and the others. "How dare you!" A furious voice rang out from within the carriage. Then, Gan Zhoming shot out from within, heading straight for one of the figures. Boom! In an instant, the two of them had completely exchanged blows. On the other side, Li Chongshi, Song Hong, and the others did not hesitate. They immediately used their strongest techniques and attacked one of the masked men. Hee. How dare you attack me when you're only at the first level of the true martial realm? A cold voice came from behind the masked man. Then, black quintessential essence exploded and a palm flew toward Xiaoping. Xiaoping was not afraid at all. A fiery red quintessential essence condensed in his palm. A scorching aura instantly filled the air as he fought with the masked man. It was a mortal-level superior-grade martial technique, Raging Fire Palm. This was one of the 2 mortal-level superior-grade martial techniques that Qin Shujian had placed in the library. As an elder, Xiaoping had the right to enter the library. So, he took a liking to this martial technique at first glance. After half a month of practice, he had almost reached the next level, although he had not mastered it yet. Bang! The 2 palms collided, and a fierce light burst. While Xiaoping was retreating, the masked man was still chasing him. It was a chaotic battle. It had completely unfolded. Inside the carriage, Qin Shujian tasted tea. Even without using his eyes, he only knew what was happening outside. The perception of someone at the 7th level of the true martial realm was extremely powerful. But after a while, he shook his head, grabbed Qin Shanxue, and left the carriage. Outside, Li Chongshi and the others were retreating. Although they were at the first level of the true martial realm, the enemy was obviously above the 3rd level. The 2 sides were not at the same level at all. The reason why they were not defeated yet, it was because they were all at the same level of the true martial realm. According to Qin Shujian's estimation, 2 or 3 more minutes had passed, and someone would have been defeated. Chapter 146. Qin Shujian walked forward leisurely. The black scabbard of the 1,000 mountain blood in his hand trembled slightly, as if it was going to be unsheathed at any moment. The sound of the blade resonated in the air. The sound of the blade swept past. It was as if a layer of black fog had covered everyone's hearts, forcing the 2 parties to stop their attacks involuntarily. Bang! Li Chongshi coughed up blood and retreated. His opponent was the white-masked man. In the eyes of the white-masked man, the originally clear sky seemed to be covered by a layer of invisible black fog, making his heart tremble involuntarily. Intent. He was, after all, an experienced and knowledgeable person. He immediately understood what was going on. Shortly after, the white-masked man's gaze landed on Qin Shujian. He shouted sternly, "Who are you?" "The person who will kill you," Qin Shujian said indifferently. His spiritual eye flickered, but he didn't get the information he wanted. The 1,000 mountain blood in his hand had already been unsheathed. A 10-meter-long blade aura shot out from the scabbard, as if there were ghosts wailing. The white-masked man instantly felt as if he was in hell. His heart instantly turned cold. Blade Aura, level 7 of the true martial realm. The white-masked man was shocked. Without thinking, he turned around and tried to escape. However, his heart and mind were already frightened by this blade. He wanted to escape, but his body couldn't keep up with his movements. Seeing that the blade aura was about to strike him, he immediately unleashed the strongest true origin in his body. A huge true origin fist violently blasted out. Boom! The blade aura struck. The true origin shattered. The white-masked man's body stiffened. Then, a line of blood appeared in the middle of his face. He fell to the ground, powerless, dead. An expert who had achieved the inner invulnerability stage had been killed with a single strike. This was a sudden turn of events. Everyone was completely shocked. A physical invulnerability stage expert. Good move by the fortune trading company. It's the Liangshan territorial lord. Retreat. Everyone, retreat. When the other 4 people who were of the same rank as the white-masked man saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. They abandoned their opponents and retreated without hesitation. The appearance of the Liangshan territorial lord, Qin Shujian, had already spread out. Since they had come to the Liang Mountain True Dominion, they naturally had to make some preparations. At this moment, seeing Qin Shujian's appearance and seeing him kill an inner invulnerability expert with a single slash, he immediately knew how big the difference in strength was between the two of them. You want to leave? Qin Shujian sneered. The killing intent of the blood of 1,000 mountains appeared in his hand. He stepped on the 8 trigrams of the 5 elements and disappeared like a ghost. In less than a blink of an eye, he had already appeared behind the green-masked man, and the first move of the Wisdom King's prison-shattering saber, Limitless Inferno, appeared once more. The freezing chill caused the other party's movements to pause. Immediately after, the symbol of a physical invulnerability Mighty One slashed out once again. Blood rained down. Qin Shujian had already chased after another target. Look at this. Li Chongshi and Gan Zhoming's eyes were filled with shock. That strength that could kill an inner aura expert like slaughtering chickens and dogs made their hearts turn cold. But very soon, Li Chongshi reacted and saw the other masked men who were preparing to escape. Suddenly, a strong murderous intent burst out. Everyone, go after them. Don't let any of them go. Before he finished speaking, he had already made the first move. Gan Zhoming, Zhang Hong, and the rest also changed their direction and charged towards the other masked men. The strongest 5 inner aura experts were already being dealt with. They no longer had the ability to interfere. The only thing they could do was to eliminate the other enemies. The 5 elements and 8 trigram steps of the unity of heaven and man level. Low-grade spiritual weapon, blood of 1,000 mountains. Coupled with the Wisdom King's prison-shattering saber technique and a completely overpowering cultivation base. The combination of these factors gave Qin Shujian the ability to completely crush the inner aura experts. As the last slash came down, Qin Shujian floated back. The 5 inner aura experts directly contributed over 10,000 life sources to him. This was a complete bonus. When he returned to the caravan, he saw Li Chongshi and the rest besieging the other masked men. Qin Shujian couldn't be bothered with them and directly returned to the original carriage. The Wisdom King's prison-shattering saber is indeed a mid-grade truth-level martial art. Looking at the still-warm tea, Qin Shujian thought to himself. The first time he used this martial art, the effect was obvious. However, if he were to compare the Wisdom King's prison-shattering saber technique with the Black Tiger saber technique, there seemed to be no comparison. This was because the Black Tiger saber technique at the Doentry level, strictly speaking, was no longer a normal martial art. Just like the saber intent he had comprehended now, it was more like a manifestation of one's will. In this way, when he used the Wisdom King's prison-shattering saber technique, the two could complement each other, making the power even more extraordinary. After less than half an hour, Qin Shujian's action of drinking tea paused slightly. Li Chongshi's voice came from outside the carriage. Sect Master Qin, all the bandits have been eliminated. Thank you for your help this time. It's just a small matter. Since I'm sitting in your carriage, I can't just stand by and watch. Then I won't disturb Sect Master Qin. Outside the carriage, Li Chongshi wiped the sweat from his forehead. He then instructed the guard driving the carriage to not disturb Qin Shujian and turned to leave. In the caravan, at this moment, the wounded were being bandaged. The remaining people took away the weapons of the dead and moved all the corpses to one place. They didn't dig a hole to bury them. They knew that it wouldn't be long before these corpses returned to heaven and earth. At the side, Gan Zhoming also took off the masks of the few inner aura realm experts. However, they looked unfamiliar and were not experts he knew at all. He then took off the masks of the other masked men to check, but couldn't find any clues. Thank you for your help this time. If not for this, I'm afraid this time we would have been wiped out. Li Chongshi came to Zhang Hong and the others and sincerely thanked them with cupped hands. Zhang Hong smiled and said, "Since we have accepted the task of the carrier trading company, this is what we should do. Deacon Li, you don't have to be so polite. No matter what, I'll remember this. If there's a chance in the future, I'll treat all of you to a good drink. Then I'll be waiting. I'll take care of other things first. If there's nothing else, you can rest in the carriage first. We'll set off immediately after packing up." Okay. Zhang Hong and the others didn't say much. Seeing that Li Chongshi went to take care of the wounded, they also returned to their respective carriages. As for other things, they couldn't care less. On the other side, Li Chongshi also counted the number of people. The final result was that more than 30 died and more than 50 were injured. Only a small number of people were left intact. In the face of such a loss, there was also a hidden sadness in his eyes. After all, he wasn't a cold-hearted person. These guards had followed him everywhere. Now that the old faces were lost one by one and new faces were constantly replaced, it was inevitable that there would be some sadness. However, Li Chongshi had seen too many of such things. After feeling a little sad, he directly ordered people to carry the wounded to the carriage to rest. After returning, they would be thoroughly treated. Then, he ordered people to check if there were any losses. At this time, the respawn time of the corpses was also up. The blood stains of the corpses disappeared without a trace in front of everyone's eyes, as if they had never appeared. Such a scene, it didn't arouse anyone's surprise. This was the way the world was. Unless you died of old age, if you died in the hands of others, you would end up without a corpse. At most, after the event, you would be set up a cenotaph and be done with it. More than an hour passed. After everything was taken care of, Li Chongshi immediately ordered and shouted, "Let's go." Then, the caravan slowly set off and continued to advance towards their destination. Perhaps the battle at the front had intimidated the others. Or maybe it was because the Origin sect's name was hanging next to the banner of the Chamber of Commerce. Along the way, besides the trouble at the beginning, they didn't encounter any other problems. However, the Liang Mountain True Dominion was not small after all. It would take a certain amount of time to cross the entire True Dominion. In addition, there were many people in the caravan and many injured people. Therefore, the progress was even slower. However, no matter how slow it was, after 2 days, they finally reached the border of the Liang Mountain True Dominion. "Sect Master, our mission has been completed. We will take our leave first," Zhang Hong said respectfully in the carriage. Qin Shujian was calm and composed. He poured a cup of tea for him and said, "Go back. You don't have to deliberately spread the news that I won't be in the Origin sect during this period of time. However, you don't have to deliberately hide it either." "All right. How many days will you be gone, Sect Master?" "Not too long. I will be back in less than a month at most." Upon hearing this, Zhang Hong didn't say anything else. He finished the tea in front of him, put down the teacup, and left the carriage. Outside, Qiu Ping and Chao Shang were already waiting there. There was only a curtain separating the inside and outside of the carriage. Therefore, they had heard the conversation between Qin Shujian and Zhang Hong clearly. When they saw Zhang Hong come out, the two of them didn't ask any more questions. Then, the three of them came before Li Chongshi. "Deacon Li, we will not be in the Liang Mountain True Dominion after this place. We have completed this mission. The sect master still needs to follow the caravan to the Mystic Void True Dominion. We will take our leave first. Please wait." Li Chongshi handed the 3 brocade boxes to the 3 of them and said with a smile, "This is a small token of my appreciation. I hope you don't mind." "Thank you very much." Zhang Hong's eyes flickered slightly. However, he didn't refuse. He accepted the boxes casually with a gentle smile on his face. Then, Gan Zhoming came out of the carriage. After chatting with him for a while, the 3 of them took their leave. After Zhang Hong and the other 2 left, Li Chongshi came to Qin Shujian's carriage and said, "Sect Master Qin, we will be in the Zhangxi True Dominion after this. I hope you can understand." "It's fine. Deacon Li, you can make the decision. Please take a rest." Li Chongshi was very respectful from the beginning to the end. In addition to Qin Shujian's status as the Dominion, it was also because of his physical invulnerability cultivation. Everything could be faked except for the Gang Qi. If one didn't reach the 7th level of the martial realm, it was impossible to release the Gang Qi. If he remembered correctly, this sect Master Qin had only become a domain lord for less than 2 months. In the face of such an expert, it was not necessarily a bad thing to leave a good impression on him. After Li Chongshi got back into the carriage, the caravan that had stopped moved forward again. Chapter 147. Qin Shujian didn't feel anything as he sat in the carriage. Until today, he was no longer a novice and had a certain understanding of the various True Dominion. The Blue River True Dominion was close to the Liang Mountain True Dominion. If he hadn't broken the shackles and become a Dominion Lord, the Starry Brilliance Ordinary Dominion would have been merged into the Blue River True Dominion and become a part of it. It could be said that his advancement had actually cut off the interests of the various sects in the Blue River True Dominion. The carriage moved forward slowly. Qin Shujian felt as if something had been removed from his body, causing his quintessential essence to weaken significantly. This sudden feeling, it made one feel weak for a moment, but it was very fast. The surging quintessential essence of the 7th stage true martial realm immediately expelled this weakness. When he looked at his attributes again, the enhancement of the Liang Mountain True Dominion had been removed. Only the 7th stage true martial realm was left. Blue River True Dominion. Qin Shujian lifted the curtain slightly and looked at the scenery outside. To be honest, this was his first time leaving the Liang Mountain True Dominion. However, when he entered the Blue River True Dominion, Qin Shujian realized that he hadn't received any notifications. Under normal circumstances, anyone who stepped into the sphere of influence of others would most likely receive a warning. He hadn't received any notifications yet. Either he had triggered that extremely small probability, or the Blue River True Dominion wasn't unified and the area he was in didn't belong to the sphere of influence of any sect in the Blue River True Dominion. Not long after, Qin Shujian sensed several auras gathering in front of him. Probably, they were at the true martial realm, but definitely not at the physical aura realm. As expected, the caravan moved forward for a few minutes before suddenly stopping. Outside, a few people wearing the Gold Sun sect's uniform appeared in front of the carrier trading company. Li Chongshi stepped forward and cupped his hands. "I'm Li Chongwen, deacon of the carrier trading company. Are you a friend of the Gold Sun sect?" "Yes." The leader of the Golden Sun sect, a middle-aged man, handed a token to the other party. After checking it carefully, Li Chongshi returned the token and said with a smile, "Elder Ding Ziqiu from the Gold Sun sect. I apologize for my rudeness. May I know how to address the rest of you?" "Deacon Li, you're too polite." Ding Ziqiu chuckled, then pointed to the others and introduced, "This is my sect's successor disciples, Du Yu, Kai Yun, and Zhao Xiuji." Li Chongshi was shocked, and then he said enthusiastically, "You are the successor disciple of the Golden Sun sect. You are indeed a dragon among men. I admire you." "Deacon Li, you flatter me." "Do you?" The successor disciple of the Gold Sun sect politely returned the greeting. As for the other 2, their attitudes were more or less the same. However, unlike Du Yu and Kai Yun, Zhao Xiuji was a delicate and pretty girl. Li Chongshi also took a few more glances before shifting his gaze away. Subsequently, he then invited them into the group. Ding Ziqiu frowned when he saw the traces of weapons in the caravan. He said in a low voice, Deaconly, your journey here has not been smooth. Someone even dares to intercept the goods of the carrier trading company. Wealth moves the heart. Li Chongshi shook his head. I wonder who did it. I'm not sure. 5 unfamiliar inner energy stage experts. I still need to go back and investigate their backgrounds. 5 inner energy stage experts. Ding Ziqiu's pupils constricted, and he was shocked. Even he would not be able to match up to such strength. Although the Golden Sun sect had sent 4 true martial realm experts this time, other than him, the other 3 were only at the first level of the true martial realm. This escort mission was more of a training exercise. If there were really 5 inner energy stage experts attacking, he would have to take his men and leave first. Immediately, Ding Ziqiu cupped his hands solemnly. May I know which outer energy stage expert is from your trading company? Why don't I pay a visit? Only an outer energy stage expert could defeat 5 inner energy stage experts. As for outer energy stage experts, they were rare experts in the True Dominion. Even the Golden Sun sect only had a few outer energy stage experts. Ding Ziqiu was not the only one. Even Du Yu and the others had grave expressions on their faces. There are no outer energy stage experts following the caravan. Please get on the carriage first. If you have any questions on the road, I will answer them. Hearing this, Ding Ziqiu and the others could only suppress their doubts. Then, they saw the Golden Sun sect logo hanging beside the banner of the carrier trading company. As for Qin Shujian, when the people from the Golden Sun sect arrived, he did not come out of the carriage to meet them. As for Li Chongshi, he did not dare disturb them rashly. After all, it was impossible for an outer energy stage expert not to know what was going on outside. Since the other party did not appear, it was obvious that he did not want to show himself. If he acted on his own accord, it might backfire. Needless to say, the Golden Sun sect was indeed the top sect of the Blue River True Dominion. Anyone who wanted to rob the caravan could not help but retreat when they saw the logo of the Golden Sun sect. In the carriage, Ding Ziqiu and Li Chongshi sat facing each other. Although the space was not very spacious, it was more than enough to accommodate the two of them. Li Chongshi poured a cup of tea for the other party. Then, he extended his hand and said politely, Elder Ding, please have some tea? Thank you. Ding Ziqiu picked up the teacup and thanked him. Then, the two of them did not speak. Instead, they took a sip of tea and fell into silence. After a while, when he saw that Ding Ziqiu was gradually unable to restrain himself, Li Chongshi smiled faintly and said, Elder Ding, you must be very curious as to why the caravan remained intact after being attacked by 5 inner energy stage experts. Since Deacon Li already knows, why are you deliberately mystifying things? It's very simple. The person from the Yuan sect made a move. Yuan sect? Ding Ziqiu was puzzled at first, but he quickly reacted. The hand holding the teacup tightened as he stared at Li Chongshi. You were talking about the Liang Mountain Protectorate Lord. That's right. No wonder. Ding Ziqiu suppressed the shock in his heart and felt that it was natural. If he had encountered an expert who was comparable to an outer energy stage expert, or even a peak true martial stage expert in his own true dominion, such an existence, dealing with a few inner energy stage experts would not be a big problem. After a long time, Ding Ziqiu sighed and said, that Protectorate Lord Qin is really lucky. No one has broken the shackles for so many years. I did not expect, however, he did not finish his sentence. Li Chongshi's expression changed drastically as he hurriedly shouted in a low voice, Elder Ding, be careful with your words. When he saw the puzzled expression on Ding Ziqiu's face, he immediately lowered his voice and said, Sect Master Qin is currently traveling with the caravan and resting in another carriage. This was a simple reply. Ding Ziqiu's expression changed. It was a taboo to talk about an expert behind his back. Soon, he came back to his senses and his expression gradually returned to normal. A Protectorate Lord was indeed powerful. However, that was because he had cultivated for a long time, or because he was in the True Dominion. The former was because every Protectorate Lord was an extremely talented individual who would definitely reach the peak of the True Dominion after a long time. The latter was needless to say. However, Ding Ziqiu did not forget that this was not the Liang Mountain True Dominion. In the Blue River True Dominion, A protectorate lord of another true dominion was merely a slightly more powerful true martial realm expert. Furthermore, he had only become a protectorate lord a few days ago. No matter how talented he was, Ding Ziqiu did not believe that he could go very far in the true martial realm. Li Chongshi dipped his hand into the tea and wrote two faint words on the coffee table. Physical invulnerability. Ding Ziqiu, who had already returned to normal, suddenly changed his expression again. He knew very well. What did the two words Li Chongshi had written mean? Who was he referring to? However, he could not figure it out. How could a person who had only been in the true martial realm for about 2 months become a physical invulnerability realm expert? One had to know. One had to be at least at the 7th stage of the true martial realm to cultivate to the physical invulnerability realm. Ding Ziqiu looked at Li Chongshi's expression. He did not seem to be boasting, and there was no need for him to lie about this. Instantly, his expression changed a few more times. Until now, Ding Ziqiu finally understood why Li Chongshi had interrupted him just now. The perception of a physical invulnerability realm expert had already reached an extremely profound level. Their conversation in the carriage might not have been able to escape the other party's ears. After a long while, Ding Ziqiu took a deep breath and said, "I would like to meet Sect Master Qin. I wonder if Deacon Li could introduce me to him. I can pass the message on your behalf. However, whether Sect Master Qin is willing to meet is not up to me." "I understand." Ding Ziqiu nodded. More than half a day passed. The caravan was resting in the wilderness. Ding Ziqiu and Li Chongshi left the carriage. Finally, Li Chongshi came to Qin Shujian's carriage. He leaned close to the curtain and whispered, "Is Sect Master Qin here?" "Deacon Li, feel free to speak your mind." Elder Ding Ziqiu of the Golden Sun sect heard that Sect Master Qin was here. "I would like to pay you a visit. I wonder if Sect Master would be willing to meet me? I'm currently practicing my cultivation method and can't get away for the time being. Let's talk about it later. Then, I won't disturb Sect Master Qin any longer." Li Chongshi's expression froze. However, he soon returned to normal. He cupped his hands at the curtain and turned to leave. Seeing this, Ding Ziqiu's expression darkened a little. In the carriage, Qin Shujian was tasting tea. There was a lot of clear water stored in it. With his profound cultivation, it was not difficult for him to boil water with his true essence. As for the cultivation he mentioned, it was just an excuse to fool Li Chongshi. Just as Ding Ziqiu had thought, a physical invulnerability expert could hear the sound of mosquitoes and flies within 3 miles. Their conversation in the carriage could not escape Qin Shujian's ears. Let's not talk about Ding Ziqiu's slip of the tongue. If an ordinary elder of the Golden Sun sect like him could meet the domain lord of Mount Liang whenever he wanted to, then the domain lord of the Golden Sun sect would be too worthless. Therefore, Qin Shujian directly sent Li Chongshi away, indirectly rejecting the other party's request. An hour of rest passed. The caravan continued to move forward. Qin Shujian also put down the teacup in his hand. He closed his eyes and began to cultivate. Both the Roaring Flame art and the Ocean Returning art had reached the 10th tier of the basic realm. What he needed to do now was to break through to the Jinwu chapter. As for the Source of Life, it had been increasing over the past few days. However, it still needed some time to reach the 18th tier of the Origin Canon. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.